right, well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Wait a minute, that's not Rector. No. I have the very esteemed honor of welcoming a special guest for tonight, the king of collegiate casting, the VCS veteran himself, Rebel Fox. How you feeling today, man? He's got the fresh cut too, dude. Damn, you all cleaned up.
Yeah, I came up with the sleeves, bro. Gotta shape up for UPL every once in a while just to be able to come back, because it's always an enjoyable time when I'm able to come in and do some of this stuff. I was here for a couple of years, and I love to come back and do it. It's a great league.
Yeah, it's a great league, and it's a great time to be here, honestly, because we are getting incredibly close to the grand finals, but still a little bit away because we still have some matches to play through with, especially tonight, right? We've got the upper bracket finals, some of the top echelon teams going head to head, in this case, UST and Winthrop. How do you feel about that matchup, man?
It's a stupendous matchup. First off, it's very, very rare to see these two teams actually play against each other. The last time it was broadcasted like live was actually during I think it was Southern Conference Finals last year before the playoffs even popped off, which was pretty wild to think about. That's the last time that these two teams were covered against each other. We have completely different rosters as well, and they're making the run through all these amateur teams who have been loading up, man. It's like off season, so we're getting a chance to see all these players. They're going to walk into proving grounds and the AM circuit and stuff, and they're all out here like mixing and matching with one another in so many different ways, and yet here we are with these same two Southern Conference teams popping off and getting into this upper bracket finals.
Yeah, definitely so. We have that upper bracket, which we just got to see. And of course, there's a lower bracket as well that one of these two teams will have to face on later off. I'm sure we have the graphic for that. We can throw it up real quick, take a quick peek as to who should be playing tonight. There it is. Okay, so let's see what we got here. We will have tonight also play CB Gaming versus St. Louis University, and Team Fish Taco going up against Wild West Bandits. From those two matches, the two winners of their playoff and lower bracket semis, and the winner of that will face whoever loses tonight. I'm a little worried because I'm not gonna lie, if you're in the lower bracket finals, you still have to go up against either UST Esports or Winthrop Garnet, which are two heavy hitters. Not gonna lie.
On the opposite side too, like if you get this from UST and Winthrop side, I mean, all six of these teams, or all four of these teams, are kind of beefy themselves, right? Like SLU is like in an arms race against nobody but themselves right now. TFT also loaded up in the offseason. Wild West Bandits came back after getting second in the last split. CB Gaming came out of nowhere with like an electrifying roster. They've made an amazing run for getting like, I think, third in their group or something like that. Like these teams are just on fire right now. So even winning tonight's so important just to make sure you're in finals, because I feel like there's a legitimate chance that any of these four teams could push them when they get to that upper bracket final to make that final spot.
Yeah, definitely so. A lot of heavy hitters all across the board, but you did touch on obviously some of the rosters. So let's take a bit more of a more look at it, right? Who's on these different squads here? I'm sure we can throw the rosters up, and we're gonna be starting off over here on this left side. We've got Porsche, Darduck, Robbie Bob, Shogo, and Chookies. I mean, I look at all five of these names, Rebel, and I'm already like, damn, it's gonna be rough.
it's a banger roster that UTST has been able to put together, and they actually reunite their old bot lane from when they took the championship in collegiate, with Chookies coming back as a substitution for Robex, who's been playing most of the season, which is kind of awesome to think about. On the opposite side, of course, like Winthrop, they're rocking some of the new players as well. Denethor up against Mabud has been an amazing top lane clash between the two. Frost Force, Ivano, Mobility coming in as their new AD after having this like insane run to get into like proving grounds and make a statement there. Bacchus coming in as well off of a couple of like proving ground type pushes from the last season. It's given a new look for Winthrop up against this massive UST roster that's just been running pretty much every amateur event they can find and every collegiate event they can find as well.
Yeah, the collegiate scene, especially, obviously last time around when we were on the stream, I was with Rector here, we were talking about how it's just kind of, it feels, it's collegiate city around these parts, man. Everywhere you look, it's some damn collegiate team, on the come up, and they're just pushing all these other teams out of the way. What's up with that, man? Is it collegiate diff?
I think collegiate's just getting so much better about scouting in amateur. For years there, it was like you had players that you were recruiting from your own college. You were bringing them in. You don't have scholarships, so it's just like you take who you can get. You put together a roster. A couple of teams came in here, had like full scholarships, so they went and got the best players they could find, the best coaches they could find. And now you have this weird middle ground of these teams that are like, they're starting to get funding, they're starting to get grounding, and they're like, what do we do? Like, how do we make a team that's going to be competitive? And Converse was one of the first that did it last year when they made their top 4 run. They went out and they found amateur players, and that's what it seems like everyone's doing now, where you're recruiting the best of the best from around UPL and some of these other type of tier 2, tier 3 type tournaments. And it's working out so well. They're able to put together really competitive rosters and allow some of these players to get even more time with a team, even more time in a functional system, which is it's really dope to see.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're just following suit of just the entirety of NA, right? Just recruit, outsource, man. You gotta grab them from everywhere. We're grabbing international players, and here we're grabbing from all across the board. And like you said, it's been working out incredibly well for them, because especially when we look at, who's playing tonight, for example, UST Esports, undefeated, right? They've only in the series themselves, they've dropped one game here, one game there every now and then, right? But regardless, still going undefeated, crushing everyone that they could. And I believe for Winthrop Garnet, it's the same damn story.
Yeah, both of them lost 3 total games, not series at all, games walking into today, including one apiece, going through that upper bracket semifinals against, I think it was CP on one side for Winthrop, on the other side it was TFT. Again, 2 of those loaded rosters that were able to make these massive runs toward the end of the season. They're world breakers. They really are world breakers right now when it comes to what they've been able to accomplish so far. To me, it's like Winthrop... I don't know if you know this story. I've had a chance to tell it all that much on broadcast. Winthrop walking into Hugh Fest, which is this big tournament where like the top 8 collegiate teams came and played against each other. Prior to that, for 2 weeks, when they had their first substitution of Frost Force back into the roster, they were undefeated in scrims against every single team. They walked into that, and every collegiate team, even UST, was like, they're probably the best or second best team here easily. They got dropped out in like they're one of the first teams knocked out. But they have that pedigree of being like, we are scrim monsters. We just got to put it on stage. And so I'm hoping they could show that to us a little bit tonight here.
Yeah, definitely. It's almost like you were at Hugh Fest, baby. Maybe do a little casting there. Maybe just maybe you might want to go back and check the VOD on that. But that's not here nor there. I think a really good thing to touch on, though, as we mentioned when we were talking about the lower bracket semis, and how even if you are in the upper bracket, it really feels integral that you get the win here, because you got to be scared of who's coming up, because you look at who's in the lower bracket quarters right now, right? CB Gaming is a team who took one of the games off of Winthrop Garnet, right? And Team Fish Taco, same series with UST Esports. So there's definitely that potential that, if you get stuck in those lower bracket finals, there's no breathing room there. You can't be like, okay, we still got a chance. It's like, no, it's danger zone, danger hot, danger close.
It really is. Yeah, you have a little bit of time to kind of accumulate and get used to the situation. But then you're also walking out of that finals, the bottom, the lower bracket finals, with an immediate matchup against the team that beat you here tonight. And so you have that to kind of consider as well as another like half of this. So it's such a difficult run to make for any of these teams to make it in, especially for the team that loses here tonight. I think that momentum can really be lost very quickly. So I expect a big heavy hitter type series here tonight. I really do think this will make a pretty massive difference. Even if it's a 2-0, I don't expect this to be a super clean 2-0 between one of the two teams. It's going to be kind of smacks back and forth between them. We know, I think everybody like also looked at this UST team as being like the world breaker. I think them showing another jungler, another bot laner, continuing to substitute in players and being able to continue this reign of dominance, it's just, at some point you get sick of it, right? Like at some point you get tired of UST beating, and you kind of want to see somebody take something from them. It's like a bully on the playground. Somebody's got to throw a punch back at some point.
Yeah, that's me with T1, man. I'm tired. I don't want to see it, man. They better lose finals, bro, because I'm tired of seeing them. Same sort of deal for UST. And when we're talking about UST, right, obviously this time around, Chuki's being in the support role and not Rovex. We always look at that balling. We look at Shogo especially. Do you feel like that's going to hinder isn't the word, but do you feel like it's going to be maybe a little bit rougher for UST in this bot lane, or is it just going to be the same story? Because, it's just going to be Chuki's diff.
On one hand, I can see how it's going to negatively impact them if they've been scrimming with a bunch of different like kind of persons in that bottom lane. I know Daption's been in that mix a little bit. I know Nova's been playing for them when they haven't had a true kind of honest support to sit in there. Rovex is coming in for this tournament. I hadn't seen Rovex around. He's kind of been bouncing around collegiate squads as well, and so he's taking his turn here at UST. And outside of all of that, it's like, okay, where does Chucky's fit into this? In terms of like practice schedule, in terms of scrimming schedule, I think the benefit to Chucky's is that they've already played with him. He already knows the UST system. The question is, how much does Chucky's link up with Dardoch? Because Dardoch is now playing for this team. And so you have this massive kind of combination with Kitsuo. Maybe you can speak to this a little bit about the mid-jungle combination, because obviously Kitsuo Robbie Bob was just this absolute menace that even ran a team basically into Proving Ground. So tell me about the Dardoch Robbie Bob, because then Chucky's has to fit into that equation.
Dude, it is menacing. That's all I can really say. Robbie Bob, especially this man, the champion, at this point, we've called it the champion galaxy. Last time we saw Robbie Bob on cast, we basically said we can't call it a champion pool. We can't call it a champion ocean, because it seems like my man can get anything done. But of course, he's not the only one that you can attest the victory to, because it is, like you said, that mid-jungle synergy, and it just works out so damn well every single time. It is absolutely ridiculous, and it just honestly puts more fuel to the fire that we talked about, the playground bullies. Someone's gotta punch back. We're tired of seeing it, man. Robbie Bob, he's gotta go. Someone's gotta take this man out. And the question I feel, right, is Frost Force and Ivano, do they have what it takes? What do you think, man?
That's a great question. I think on a pure, just like, looking at both these teams and the rosters, at least on paper, you would suspect that Dardoch Robbie Bob probably wins this pure 2-on-2, which is why for Winthrop walking into tonight, what I really want to see is Frost Force and Ivano attacking side lanes. Denethor impressed the hell out of me at Hugh Fest and in some of the games that Winthrop's been playing. Obviously, I mean, you think about how good Nabud is. The fact that Denethor is here on the starting roster, or what is supposedly the starting roster here for Winthrop, it speaks to the level Denethor is playing at. And so if you're playing Denethor and you're trying to smash Porsche in a side lane, that's something that is playable. Again, if you don't pick this 2v2 in the mid jungle, you attack your lanes, get mobility, Denethor ahead to these big pieces that an amateur really showed up last year. I think it's a great pathway.
Definitely so. Well, we've been doing a whole lot of talking, but we are in the draft now, and already I'm seeing some respect bans coming out, especially with that GP being taken off the table. I want to see a Victor ban coming out, and if not, Winthrop Garnet better have some kind of answer to it, because Robbie Bob and Victor, that's an instant GG, honestly. From what I've seen, at least, that tends to be an instant GG. The Heimerdinger ban coming out, that surprises me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Is Paucus, and Paucus has this really, really weird phenomena where, like, you can take most you talk about, like, the champion galaxy for Robbie Bob. I don't know that it's proven to me to be the exact same for Paucus, but Paucus has played things like Sona and Soraka and like Enchanter, like Ocean, and so it's not shocking to me to see that Paucus probably has mages up the sleeve as well. And so you think about Worlds, we've seen a little bit of the Heimerdinger support. It's probably such an annoyance that they just don't want even a possibility. And like you were attesting to, the Victor, it's Robbie Bob. You can't let him have Victor. Like, it's just that and the Zed are the two that you're always looking at. It's like Zed's not the win condition, but it's super cool. But the Victor's like he can 1v5 on that champion. You just can't let him have it.
Yeah, exactly. The amount of pentakills we've seen coming out with that in Robbie Bob's hands, it's I hate to see it if you're playing against them, but we are in this last bands coming through here from the side of UST. I'm curious to see who they look to take off the board next. It's gonna be the Sejuani here, one of those, a little more flex potential coming out. Want us to get that off the board. Respectable.
Yeah, interesting. And now the thing about this is cool because it's the double ban against Frost Force and also Denethor potentially. I wonder if they're suspecting that Winthrop is going to blind pick for Denethor and try to get a Vano winning matchup. Which, if you think about the other side of Winthrop's kind of roster, Conveying is actually the one that, when I talk to them, is the one with the weird champion. He's got the Cassinan, he's got the Anivia, he's got all these crazy type champions up the sleeve ready to go. And so it's, okay, do they leverage the red side for Ivano here? Because in my opinion, I think it'd be better to leverage it for Denethor. So if that was targeted at top lane, I think it was a bit of a misplaced ban from UST, unless they suspect Frost Force to just say, I'm going to play a tank, I'm not going to fight against Dardoch, I don't want to play this 2v2 all that much, which is a fair assessment.
Yeah, definitely so here with that Aatrox being taken off the table. Porsche is just getting targeted to hell right now. Graves is being hovered at the moment, hasn't been locked in just yet, but there we go. Locked in. I'd be very surprised if that doesn't go into Dardoch's hands, and already, double jungle lock coming in here already. Double range too. I'd like to see this. A lot of aggression coming out with these two picks.
A couple things to note. Number one of the only losses that's been given to UST this season was when Dardoch was on Graves. Not that it was his fault, but is at least a noteworthy kind of aspect. And Winthrop going to Kindred here suggests they want to attack this Graves as much as possible. This Kindred is known as like a kind of soft counter, if not just like an even harder counter than that, to the Graves pick if you play aggressively. You can space it as better DPS kind of over time, unless the Graves just is able to kind of slam a Q and able to bounce it off the wall and go crazy there. That's probably just a hover because I'm assuming that champion is banned for the moment. But yeah, it's an interesting strategy because, again, we were maybe postulating that the mid jungle wasn't going to be the priority here today, and yet here we are immediately with an attack against Dardoch from the side of Winthrop.
Yep, definitely. So locking in the Gnar, so it's most likely going to be going to the hands of Denethor in this top lane. Will allow UST to look to respond. So if they want to give maybe up to push, or who knows, maybe that Graves goes up top. We'll have to wait and see. But no, we get our answer right away. It's going to be the Camille being locked in here, followed up by the Varus. I like what we're seeing here, Rebel.
Okay, a little bit of a pick here. The Varus is of interest. It's another one of these power bot laners that, like, Shogo's known for the Draven and partially the Callista and some of these other things. And this champion can kind of fit into that pool as well. It's interesting that it came before any of those type champions, or even like Lucian. There was like a Lucian available as well to potentially grab into all of this, but just not going to be the case. And the Camille for Porsche is something that I remember at the beginning of Porsche's career. He was playing Camille a lot into some softer matchups and able to exploit it, which is what got him on more of a national radar as being a top-level top laner. Here, contesting Denethor's Gnar, I think is a little bit harder to do in this like kind of sector of the game if you're attempting to do that, but not impossible. Although you do have to be careful because, again, the Gnar in that range matchup sometimes can be a bit of an abuse case, make it difficult to kind of take advantage of that matchup.
Yeah, those hyper stacks, they can stack up quick, but hey, who knows? Put him on the radar. He's just got to show it to us once again, take advantage of it. But we're in these next couple of bans coming through here. The Silas and the Renata being taken off the board here with Winthrop, and no surprise there, you don't really want to give that over to the Varus. I'm curious if we see a Varus in the hands of Robbie Bob. I feel it's very unlikely, but honestly, with UST, you never really know, right? They might just pull out some crazy punches, and UST, on the other hand, opting to make sure that they get bot lane banned off the table. They don't want to give mobility anything to pick with. It's going to go with the Xayah, though.
And I do like this because it's way clear potential bit of early trading. You still have some good DPS. You don't need nearly as much with the Kindred kind of thrown in. And even the Gnar can kind of bridge that gap as well. And the big thing that they've saved more than anything else is that they want to counterpick with Pockets, which is crazy. He's got something ready for this bot lane. Like, that is almost certainly a guarantee at this point that Winthrop wants something crazy. And they need some more magic damage as well. Trying to pick between the Syndra and the Ryze. The Syndra is a filthy champion. It's very similar to the Syndra, or the Victor, my apologies, where, again, you get it out of laning phase, you get it some splinters, and all of a sudden this champion just becomes an absolute monster with a relative free laning phase up against the Galio, unless they try to like flex the Galio bound into support and you expect something else for Ivano, but we'll see what Winthrop's got up and ready for it.
Yeah, Syndra with those splinters playing that same little upgrade mini game with the Victor, right, with those upgrades. So, you have to wait and see. And lastly, being locked in here for Chookies is going to be the Lulu here. Curious to see how Shogo will work with that. And the cat is open. I do see it being hovered. The cat is open at the moment. Are we going to get a certified Yumi moment is the question. Focus, like, right, you mentioned, though, is one of those, that Enchanter Ocean, and we saw a lot of those being hovered at the moment. But looking like the Rakan going to be locked in here. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, like, locking the Rakan Xayah that late in the draft, especially with, like, what you've got, unless you're planning on attacking bot lane, I do, wonder what Winthrop's plan is here. Because I feel like the Rakan into the Lulu is not a particularly fun matchup to play as the Rakan. The laning phase isn't as dominant as you want it to be unless you play hyper-aggressive and try to set up Frost Force to kind of win around the map, which seems to be the condition here. It seems like Winthrop has said, hey, Frost Force with the Kindred, we're going to attack the Graves as much as possible. We want to push on bot lane. We want to push in top lane. We're okay sacking mid-wave with this Galio. It doesn't really need that much. Don't want it to interact with Syndra all that often. And so it's just about making sure Frost Force has space to kind of open up the map for the rest of Winthrop.
Yeah, and honestly, I kind of hope that that's the game plan, right? Because UST is such an oppressive team, right? It's like, if you give them an inch, they take a mile, and they're not a team that just kind of, sit back and just let things play out and then they scale into like, no, dude, they will take control of the game if you let them. And so Winthrop just answering with, what answers best with aggression? More aggression. Like to see it. I want to see it happen, right? If Frost Force can get ahead, especially on those Kindred, right? Get those stacks going early on, get that pressure going. Things could get pretty choky for UST.
I agree with that sentiment. Now, I do have the fear that if you're not careful and you let Syndra out of laning phase, so when you get to 40 splinters and you get double Q, that's really a massive wave clear kind of break point where the Syndra is going to be able to start keeping the Galio locked in place a little bit more. And we already know that Robbie Bob kind of likes to get out on the map, out and about on the map, which is why when they were going between Ryze and Syndra and now having 20/20 vision to be able to look back in time, I think I would have preferred Ryze because Ryze has better initial wave clear to go help out Dardoch, to go help out wherever the attack is at when like Ivano decides to dump a wave, or whenever you're trying to help out against Frost Forest on an invade or something like that. It feels like Ryze could step off the waves faster in this game, but Syndra will do the same thing if you're able to get it to 40 stacks, get it through the first 5-10 minutes of the game. And so I anticipate that from Dardoch to start with, and then it's just about catching what Winthrop throws at you. We anticipate aggressiveness from Winthrop to begin this game. UST, it's a very rare circumstance where it feels like if they start scaling and they've got this range advantage, they're comfortable just sitting and waiting to see what Winthrop's going to throw at them.
Yeah, definitely so. And I feel like that's also where we take a look again, as you mentioned, right? The mid-jungler synergy, because even though the initial wave clear maybe not as good from the Syndra, right? Dardoch, he can just say, hey, listen, man, if there's no laner there, you can clear as quickly as you want, man. So you can just come into that mid lane and they take Ivano out. And then next thing you know, Robbie Bob's down in the bot lane, grabbing himself an extra double kill like always happens in all my solo queue games. Whenever the mid laner's roaming down, I'm like, you spam ping like, listen, he's coming. And then he's there. And then it's like, oh, whole team's dead. As we do throw it, we have a quick pause at the moment. We're about to get onto the rip, but gonna have to wait a little bit longer. So we have some more time to talk about the lineups themselves. I want to look at that top lane one more time, though. How do you feel is that Gnar gonna do, man? It's Denethor Gnar is revered as a bit of a gapper, but I mean, you're going up against Porsche, and he's a bit of a menace.
Yeah, so on one hand, I say, okay, Porsche is on Camille in a winning matchup. I think that's a favorable thing most of the time for the side of UST. If you leave that top lane on an island, which oftentimes UST likes to do, they say, hey, play Gangplank, and we will see you in 15 minutes when you're done farming. It feels like a game where if you do that, there's a lot of potential for Porsche to flex on Denethor. So to me, this is a test for Denethor. It's a question of, you are a Gnar, and you can be this massive team fighting tool. You can be this massive zoning tool, one of the primary engage, and even a little bit of damage style for your team if you don't get crushed early, if you don't aren't succumb to any of the pressure that can be leveled up. So for me, Porsche wants to push the advantage, and Denethor, how well can you absorb it?
Yeah, well, that's enough talking because the rift has been opened up, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 1 is underway. UST Esports going up against Winthrop, Garnet. Both of these teams looking to secure themselves a spot in the grand finals on November 18th. But first, they've got to duke it out. It is a best of 3, so gotta get 2 games under your belt. Obviously the first game, gonna get a feel for both of these teams, what they're gonna be looking to do, but regardless, it always feels good to get that first W under your belt.
It really does give you a lot of confidence, especially for a lot of the new players here on the side of Winthrop Garnet. You think about Denethor stepping onto the main roster, but also Mobility and Paucus both being kind of brought in and recruited to this roster as well to step over some of the long-standing members. You think of Kenji, you think of a lot of the ADCs that have been here for Winthrop between like ZKG. You go back in time, you think of Saskia, who was a multi-time champion as well, and the legacy that a lot of those players leave. Even Mabud, who's been an absurdly good player for a number of different teams, and for this Winthrop roster was just this massive kind of push just a year ago when they first deployed him. And so getting a win here would be such a confidence boost, not only for this team just to make sure that the series goes well, but for these young players that they've added onto this roster as this way of kind of developing their talent.
Yeah, I was about to say, man, you're focusing too much on the old heads, man. Listen, man, there's some new kids on the block looking to cement their own legacies, looking at Denethor, right, looking at Frostborg, but regardless, there'll be a time and a place for that, and it should be coming up soon. Now, looking at Frostborg, right, looking to path his way down bot, while Dardoch is the opposite side of the coin there. Do you feel we're going to see some level 3 engagements coming in the bot lane? But never mind, we're already seeing something coming out here. Shogo's been ignited. He's running for his life. He popped the ghost. He's getting low and just barely escapes that one. A close call, but already I like what I'm seeing.
I'm actually really astonished. He turned for an auto attack right there. I was suspecting that could have been his demise, but Mobility was caught in an animation, so he couldn't turn and do anything else. As this is exactly what you wanted to do as the Zyra Rakan. You have to play aggressive in this lane. The level 1 advantage of having the W, the extra range to be able to work with, some of the benefit of having like the W upgrade from Xayah to apply to both of them. It just means that they can put a bunch of damage into this Varus before he gets that level 2, level 3, starts being able to a bit of a poke menace. Helps out quite a bit as well because there's a Kindred on the way down. If they can bounce this wave, it means that Frost Force might have an opportunity to attack Shogo.
Yep. Injured mark has been applied, so they have an idea that something might be coming pretty soon. Frost Force is here. I don't think he was spotted out. Wasn't any wards there, so now Frost Force gonna have to wait. He's gonna go in, and no way they already go for this. The wave wasn't quite there just yet, but now it's here. Rakan knock him, nice flash up from Shogo to get away from it. Is it gonna be enough? No, it's not though. First blood going on over to the hands of Mobility, beautifully juggling the turret aggro. This is what I want to see from Winthrop.
What an absolutely menacing dive here. 3 camps, he just jumped down here. Frost Force wasn't even level 3 yet, and neither was the volley here from UST, pointing out exactly what they were going to do from basically minute 1. An astonishing decision, but Winthrop, again, they set up their game plan. They're playing their cards on their sleeve right now, Echo. It's just that simple. We knew what was going to happen. We're like, they're going to play aggressive. I didn't expect it in 3 minutes, but man, they're making it happen.
I'm loving it, man. I mean, not only that, right, he even comes in, he's saying, listen, I'm going to kill you. He puts the mark on him, no warning, right? No time for them to get prepared. He's like, you will die. I am death itself, and goodbye, good night. Thanks for the stack. I'll be heading back. And speaking of heading back in that mid lane, Ivano is heading back. You can see by his HP bar is pretty low, and I feel it's kind of exactly what we talked about, what's going to happen. Robbie Bob just has that extra range, especially being able to summon, excuse me, those dark spheres right on top of Ivano. Just not really much he can do until he gets that level 6. I feel like his objective is just survive. Don't give Robbie Bob any kills, just survive.
Yeah. A little bit. The fact that Robbie Bob also, he understands the same thing that I was talking about, which is this wave clear breakpoint, goes for DMATs to make sure that it is more difficult. Ivano will have to dump even more resource, or will have to leave waves, get punished potentially by Robbie Bob. And even if he gets a good roam off, you have to consider what happens if you lose 10 minions, 12 minions, 15 minions, something into a tower, but then also a plate or 2 plates go over to the Syndra. The Syndra, again, outranges pretty much everybody here on the side of Winthrop. What are you to do if she actually gets powerful on her own? That's a real fear that comes about in this game too. So not only is it how low are you pinching off Ivano's ability to attack the map, but it's how strong are you letting this Syndra get when she has just uninteractable damage for the rest of this Winthrop squad for the rest of the day.
Yeah. And I mean, you look at the squad of Winthrop itself, right? You've got mobility, right, on the Xayah. You've got the Kindred. You've got the Gnar. If he's not in that mega form, he is going to be, somewhat squishy to some degree. So a lot of potential targets that just can be absolutely bursted down by a fed Robbie Bob. But look, he's on his way down again. Frost Forest is here in the bush. Ivano looking to make sure that Robbie Bob can't move on forward. Over here as well, Dardoch's looking to move in. Smoke screen gets dropped. That's from Ivano to get away, though. Chuki's has to be careful here. The stacks are coming through with the slow. No one really there to assist, though, so ultimately not too much going to come out of it. Just a little bit of pressure being applied.
Yeah, a lot of use of this Rakan Xayah just to try to get a bunch of control of this bottom side to open space for Frost Force. That time, kind of got caught with his hand in the cookie jar a little bit because he passed right by Dardoch on the bottom side, which would allowed them to turn for Ivano, who was trying to step off the wave while Robbie Bob was gone and maybe look for a Roman in the bottom side. They caught him there, said that wasn't going to happen, and so the play was kind of debunked from that point. Chuggies took a little bit of auto damage, but that's all it was. Again, it's this to and fro of Winthrop wants to make aggressive plays. How well does UST know it's going to show up? How well can they defend against it? Here we go.
Dude. Flash coming through. Punkins is here as well. They get the stacks. They get the kill. Frost Forest grabbing himself that one. Turf shot comes in, but it's going to be enough. Chukies securing himself the one-on-one. He's saying, listen, man, you're not getting out here without giving me something. Trying to get those feathers back. Trying to get the kills on Chukies. Dude, Chukies is just a menace right now. He's got a dash left, right, center, forward, trying to
do not.
Here.
No
going
way.
Back in. Dude, that is so disrespectful. Mobility's going to get out. Porsche, meanwhile, with the hook shot, staying alive. Denethor still looking for something. He's got that range advantage. Can't quite get the final stack, and so Porsche is going to survive. Wish I could say the same for UST's bot lane.
Keep your eye on Denethor. He just used his bounce, and so
here
comes Dardoch.
Here. Yeah, nice smoke stream coming through, dashing on forward towards. Nice flash over the wall, though. He's going to stay alive.
Good Lord, that was like instantaneous. I've seen professional players, especially even at the World's Tournament, I've seen them try to line that up and do it properly. It takes them a tenth of a second. Denethor was just... It's done. Just walks right up to the wall and knows exactly where to flash. So props to him for that one, because it could have been a rough situation. Does have to burn it, unfortunately, but Porsche did not have to burn his to get out of that situation. But doing fine in the one-on-one.
Yeah, definitely so. I totally forgot. I have to let you know this. Well, we do things a little differently down at UPL. There's two phrases that we always bring up on Cast Me and Regdor that he'd be yelling at me if I didn't let you know. So first of all, we're gonna have to find ways to call these moments that. First of all, it feels bad moment. That's pretty easy to work into somewhere, right?
Feels bad moment. This is a feels bad moment.
Exactly. It's always gonna be a feels bad moment. Might be one for Denethor if he's not careful. But not looking like Dardoch's gonna look for anything. And the triple G's. I don't know if you know what that is. Nope. Do you know what it is? Yeah, it is. Okay, so it's Gatekeep, Gaslight, and Girl Boss. This is Regdor's triple G. We'll have to find a way to work that in sometime during the cast. We have some time, though, as things are looking to heat up at the moment. Porsche maybe looking for something. Just a little trade coming through with the Precision Protocol.
Nothing too crazy to talk about now. With Rift Herald up on the map, you can see there's a bit of a swip. And Winthrop knows exactly what they want to do, right? They put their bot lane in the mid, they're going to put Ivano on the bottom side, and then they're going to put their Gnar is just going to continue to push out, maybe try to stack this wave. Now he's got the Mega Gnar to be able to really put pressure against DC Porsche here, so they can open up a lot of opportunity around the Rift Herald, which is interesting. Dragon has been such a solid priority. Taking it this early in the game does sometimes come with some risk, and so Winthrop just say, okay, we're not going to worry about it. We can kind of dump the bottom side of the map right now, say, okay, do you want to go for Dragon, or are you just going to let us have a Rift Herald and then try to set up something later? Right here, it seems like UST wasn't ready to catch that ball. They weren't prepared to say, hey, let's shift into Dragon territory. So instead, they just end up giving up the Rift Herald for a bit of setup towards the bottom side. They could be themselves working towards something eventually, but right now, it's just a free grab of that neutral objective.
Yeah, and I mean, something that's absolutely huge that you got to test towards, all right, Winthrop's vision game is so incredibly strong, man. Look at the top side of that map. It is just lit up at the moment, and other than that one control ward in the bush over on the red side here, UST barely really has any vision for it, and so Winthrop is like, oh, well, we know that Dardoch isn't up here top. He's got to be bot. Let's get it started up, and it's just a cake on, it's the cherry on top of the cake, not the cake on top of the cherry, that they didn't even start up the Drake.
Okay. Okay, now also, though, we do have first item breakpoint here for Dardoch finished on the Grave, so you've got the Umbral Glaive, better for vision control, but also having that lethality. It means, again, the one situation you kind of smash the Kindred is if you happen to fight against the wall and you can land that Q. If you get a lethality Q against the Kindred, she dies, or they die, my apologies, as that's going to happen. As Frost Force and Denethor both run in. That was a bit of a quick ultimate from Garnet. I assume just not wanting to have to burn the flash, so you just burn it super early to make sure that there's no chance of an engagement right there, but that felt kind of presumptuous. It didn't look like they were posturing to run after him, but again, I guess safety first more than anything else. 60-second cooldown, not that big of a deal to burn, just to make sure that he's safe.
Yeah, better safe than sorry, right? Already 3 kills on the side of Winthrop. Don't want to give anything else on over. I'm surprised in this mid lane, man. I thought we were going to see a bit more action coming through, but it's this damn bot lane where everything's at. Shogo did get charmed there with the quickness, but ultimately, nothing going to come out of it. Their chain of corruption is not going to land either, but you see Dardoch on his way on over. Bit of a long con gang coming through here with the engage again from Shogo. He's doing his best to deal some damage out. Mobility with it's not going to be enough. A flat forward from Dardoch finds themselves one. They're looking to find even more. The Frost Force is on the case. Poke is going to grab himself one. Shogo running for his life, but they're not even going to bother with him just yet. They pick themselves up Dardoch, and Shogo is the final prize. Amino making sure that it goes into the hands of Frostfire, and that's a full 3-man execution.
Super, super quick gank to the bottom side. And again, Avada, we talked about this, dumps waves mid lane. Look at this. I think it's 2 waves, wave and a half right now that's held by Robbie Bob, plus the one that's coming in right now in exchange for the Rift Herald drop and the win of the fight on bottom side. So yes, you do have Syndra getting very powerful, matches the plates that you just got from that Rift Herald push as well. But the first full tower goes into the Galio. That's a little bit of a salvage of the gold that you needed. And that big team fight win also gets you so much into your Kindred, into Mobility, who didn't actually end up being able to kill. But Pakis as well, also a little bit more fed now. So again, leaning to this bottom side, I think our producer had put up something, what was it?
Gatekeep, Gaslight, Kill Bot.
Gaslight, Kill Bot, something like that. So that's the perfect amalgamation of the game thus far.
Yeah, definitely so. That Rift Herald even getting a second crash into that tier 2 as well. Going to make it somewhat easier for Winthrop to take it out when they so please. But for now, seen some trade going in top here. Denethor making excellent use of that range. Look at that. There's nothing Porsche can do. The solo bolo might be coming through. He's getting lower. Ult comes out, stun. Give him the slap. Put him in the dirt. Porsche gonna go down. Denethor says, too easy. GG.
Okay, and again, Denethor living up to the billing that I was giving him a little bit earlier on. I suspected that this was going to be the case, and the Gnar was going to go well, but man, the laning phase has really gone great. And so now, both sides of the map feel like they're winning. You've got the top side that's winning of its own volition, where Denethor is just doing great, and the bottom side of the map winning because of all this action that you kind of put around it. 2 kills to your Kindred, 2 kills to your Zayas, your Marksman, both feeling amazing inside of this game. And what you have to show for it so far is a Graves that's slightly ahead of the curve, maybe slightly ahead of the curve, if not just like on the curve with where Winthrop's at. And then you've got Syndra, who's had a chance to free farm, and 10 CS a minute is 10 CS a minute. You'll take that for Robbie Bob, who's always going to be a win condition. But Winthrop has gotten pretty much everything they wanted so far.
Yeah, it definitely does feel like that. Gonna be looking towards, I feel like it's always, you have to look towards Robbie Bob, right? It's gonna be their salvation. They have that scaling potential in it. 129, make it 130 farm, and he's second now, about 26 CS, 24 CS. I'm not mathematically inclined, don't at me. But definitely gonna be looking towards him to start doing some damage once he gets scaled up. It is kind of like you said, it does feel like, honestly, everywhere on the map, Winthrop is just kind of winning. They've got the rotations coming out. They know what they want to do, and hell, they even have those solo kills coming out. They can hold their own if they need to.
They do, yeah. Things that I've really liked about this one, again, the setup of the Zion Rakan, I was a little bit suspect of, just making sure that Mobility and Pakis were going to be able to play it as aggressively as necessary. And from level 1, they really have just thrown on the pressure. The Varus pick has been punished acutely by this squad, which is just amazing to see that they are willing to put that much trust into a very new bot lane for themselves. Again, it's the first time I think they've had 2 new bot laners for like the last 3 years that I've seen them play, which is really astonishing that they've been, like you said, trying to establish your names as you players. If you're coming out here and you're smashing Shogo, you're smashing Chookies, the ex-champion bot lane, man, you're feeling great about yourself.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing to do. Is just take out the king, get that king slayer, get that 100 extra XP there. But regardless, game's not over till it's over, Rebel. So we'll hold our tongue for now here, as there's still a lot of things that Winthrop needs to do. A lot of towers they need to take down, a Nexus that they need to get rid of as well. But first, they're going to look to get rid of Robbie Bob. They're mounting Dread. So much damage already coming out. The Wild Growth to keep him alive. So they're going to swap on over to Dardock. Going to hold the line. Keep Robbie Bob alive just barely. But already, I mean, I know Kindred's E's mounting Dread. And there's a lot of Dread mounting right now when I'm seeing the damage that's coming out.
Yeah, it was actually a really good kind of call off as well, because right there, Winthrop, you have to have the fear that when you bring in a couple of new players that you're not going to be all on the same page. But Frost Forest is one of these super veteran type junglers, where now probably the most experienced member on this roster at this moment when it comes to both competitive play and also in Winthrop's system. And piloting it so well right there, because you call the play, you say, hey, Ivano, run after him with a W. The flash didn't get him that far. You catch him, and then you don't overcommit because you know the Lulu ultimate is there. And so you put a couple of auto attacks in, you just walk out, you don't go into the choke point against the Graves, and it's a great waste of resources that's not going to be there for the Rift Herald fight, which they're starting up now.
Yep, Hexagon are going to get dropped on the Frost Forest. Can't quite get out here. Its entrance as well. It's going to be huge. Nice quickness from Pocus. They've got Porsche surrounded, and they've got him in the dirt. Down he goes. Denethor's here as well. Jump up forward. Nice little two-man stun there with the ulti. They're going to find 2 more kills. Shogo eats the dirt. Dardock going to eat the dirt too. A nice grand entry from Pocus. Goodbye, good night. Thanks for the double kill. Thanks for the Herald Warp Box secure, as well as Winthrop. Garnet is looking flawless right now. Mobility in the 1v1 with Robbie Bob now as well. Pulling the feathers back. Not quite going to get the stun though. The turret shots are there as well. That tier 1 saying, no, you don't get to push up just yet.
And see, this is the Winthrop that I was billed for back when I was at UFest and I was talking about this team. I heard about this team being so electrifying and so dominant inside of scrims. This is what I've been waiting for, what I've been expecting. I haven't gotten exactly this. I've gotten these bright moments where we've seen them do great things, but we've never really gotten to see what this scrim team looks like. To me, this is what their scrim team is always like in my imagination, where they are so decisive. They come out with a very, I wouldn't even call it easy, but it's a clear game plan that's hard to execute on, and they're feeling it perfectly. Like, every single moment of the way, they're doing it so well against a team as good as UST. You have to give them such props for a game so far.
Yeah, definitely. So honestly, Rebel, I think we need dash production. Can we make sure this isn't a scrim? This is a live match, right? We're on the air right now, right? This is counting, because if it was, that would be
the nameplates aren't swapped, right?
Yeah, the gameplay would definitely attest towards it, as Chuki's here in a turkey spot. He gets hit with the grand entrance, though. Ivano's here. Shield Duran is going to be charged up, going to find its mark, and there's nothing Chuki's can do. Actually, no, they're going to just let him go, because that Rift Herald can get dropped in the mid lane. They're finally going to look to crack this tier 1, crack the map open a bit more, and there's really not much that UST can do at the moment. They have to give it over, and they at least stop the second crash. Is the question. It's looking fairly likely, because Winthrop are just going to back off. Dragons up in 10 seconds.
It's another massive winning play. The crack of the mid tower, especially with the bottom tower, it just gives you such good setup around the dragon. And after the first one's controlled, it means that Winthrop just has a beeline now to effectively what will be the soul point against a team that's going to take another minute to really get online. The Syndra's on Ludens, but you're probably going to need 2-3 items before you start to really feel great about the position that you're in with the Syndra to win games. And so you've got 10 minutes to make that happen if you're the side of UST. To see if you've got that win condition ready to go for the remainder of the game, especially with the amount of power that exists right now for Winthrop. It's a really difficult position to find yourself in as this squad. Although it is very funny, they've got this really weird mechanic about them that UST always seems to lose games against teams that should never beat them, and against teams that could beat them, they go down like 10,000 gold and then just come back anyway. And it's happened so many times. Like, I wish I had a name for it for UST, the UST effect or something like that, but talk to anybody, talk to Pelto, like, on the roster, it happens all the damn time.
Yeah, definitely so, and they're looking for something in this top lane. Top turret tier 1 is still up and available at the moment. Denethor Mobility are all here. I don't know. So you looking for Shogo here, just looking to hold off this wave now. It's the calm before the storm before we get into these next couple of team fights. And honestly, yeah, it's like I said, it could happen. You never know what's going to go down, right? There's still a lot to do in this game. I hope we didn't just cast or curse it by saying that, because so far Winthrop has been doing a great job of staying ahead. But we have seen UST Esports come back from worse, and they're going to start off by looking to get the pick onto Frost Forest. They're going to drop that Lance Respite, heroic entrance as well. They get the stuns coming through the roots as well. Do they have the damage? Is the question. The answer is yes, they do. They're going to go 1 for 1. The quickness comes out with the charm. Make that 1, make that 2. But it's the damage there. It's not looking likely. Shogo is free hitting on them right now as that full lethal tempo stack. They get stunned with the feathers coming back though. Denethor is here in the back lane, but he's got to get back, get stunned. A lot of damage coming through. He's going big mode, but he's not big enough. Down he goes. And we just said it, and it's looking like it might happen, Rebel. We did curse it.
That or we caused it. It's one of the two. I don't know if it's a curse or cause, but it's definitely one of the two here coming out. Is it's a take and fight this time from Winthrop, who have been doing such a good job at winning all these engagements. But the thing that they had not been baited into a single time in this game is walking into Graves. And what did they just do, Echo? They all walked right into Graves during the course of that. They must have thought, hey, the Kindred ultimate, hey, the rest of the team following up, maybe the Graves doesn't have it. Maybe the Graves cannot actually work through. I think he took most of the Kindred's health bar, and he took a couple of like pot shots off a couple of the frontliners here, where Winthrop just could not swap fast enough, put out the damage necessary. And UST, Shogo got the free fire into frontliners, Robbie Bob eventually got the free fire into just Denethor, and again, in these big, long fights where things are stretched out, the range advantage is going to be so different for UST that, again, if they don't win the front side of that fight so quickly and pull out immediately, it's a difficult position where you are going to end up losing. That's the first time we've seen it really used against them to drive this lead back down to 3,000 gold.
Yeah, definitely so. Dardox is saying, you fools, you fall in for my trap. You did exactly what I want you to do. The armor that comes out from the dash as well just makes it so much harder to kill him. And like you said, right, they just couldn't swap the targets fast enough, take them out quick enough. But regardless, looking for something in this mid lane, but Hocus just a little bit too slippery. He said, Hocus Pocus, I'm on out of here. Dashes on over, gets on out. And now UST looking a bit more menacing than they were a couple minutes ago. Not looking like they're going down without a fight. They know the terrain that they need. They know what they got to do. They just need to execute.
Yeah, it's been, again, they've got some kind of places where they're doing fine. One of the named ones is bottom lane right now. When it's Gale Force Rapid Fire Cannon, you've got good mobility, good safety, good feather positioning for mobility. But in terms of pure auto-to-auto output, it feels like Shogo is going to win that battle with the Rage Blade completed now, so you've got that. Number two, second pen, or technically third pen item, because you've got Pen Boots and Ludens, and now Void Staff done for Robbie, who's probably on about 40 to 60 splinters. If production has that number, it'd be nice to be able to see that right now, just to know where he's at in terms of the splinters available for the Syndra. But one way or another, he is scaling. He's forcing the scaling to happen at 10 CS per minute. The Syndra is going to be a champion worth kind of mentioning in the course of this game. Does it say 92 splinters?
I think it does. Oh, Lord.
92?
Oh,
Who has he been
dude.
fighting this game? He's been in a solo lane half the time. Who is he hitting with spells?
Everyone under the sun, it seems, as they're trying to find Ivana. Was a flash forward from Dardoch. Gonna go gold, though. Still has that tier 1 to protect him. Is it gonna be enough? Is the question. Just barely. No, it will not be. Dardoch gonna grab himself that kill. Shogo is there to make sure they get it as well, and that's gonna be one more member down. Very nicely done. Drag is up in 43 seconds. We talked about stacks. I'm also curious if we can look at Frost Force, because I want to see how many Kindred stacks he's got on him at the moment.
That's
but
a great
right now,
question too,
yeah, we need to keep our eyes on this mid lane that they are looking at. Is that okay? He's got 4. He's got 4. So he can increase
about
the
the
basic
upgrade
attack range a little bit.
He's got the upgrade. It's feeling good. Usually 7 is the mark for Kindred, at least from what I know from Kindred players. 7 is the mark where it's like the champion transcends from like good marksman to amazing marksman. That's the mark that you're looking for, is usually the 7 rather than the 4, the second upgrade. But one way or another, I think you're perfectly fine. A little bit of range upgrade and being on 2 items feels great right now for Frost Force. The real fear, once again, is that you now have almost 3 item Varus that's going to be popping off, and potentially you've got every one of your members pretty much has damage to work with for a Baron buff, and so you can see how much the UST has been leveraging this. They've just taken full control of bunkering topside river to make sure that Winthrop have to push into negative type territory they're not comfortable with, and it might just be that UST is able to use to kind of get themselves back into a game like this.
And already we did see a little taste of that Robbie Bob damage coming out, and it kind of goes back into the fact, like you mentioned, right? He has those 3 pen items into a team where 3 of the 5 members over on Winthrop are going to be somewhat squishy. Need to prioritize getting these certain items first that won't give them as much magic pen, and even onto the Gnar. That's a lot of damage coming through. The quickness does get dropped though. Looking for something. Hextech only made a Pocus. Can't move. He can't leave. Nice chains of corruption. She'll get a pretty big stun there. Only going to find 1 though at the end of the day. Shogo looking to just free fire. A lot of damage coming through. Avon needs to be careful. That was a lot of damage from that piercing arrow, and so Winthrop is going to have to back off. We're seeing that range differential coming out from UST. You mentioned it in the draft, Rebel, and we're seeing it play out right now.
And right here, it feels like the way to play out this situation if you're Winthrop was actually to try to throw Denethor down to bottom lane, keep the TP, try to charge the Gnar bar on the dragon or the back half of the dragon, so you transform, then you walk into pit, you start fighting it as Mega Gnar, and then you use the last couple seconds of invulnerability to make sure your Gnar bar doesn't pop while you're in the dragon pit. And if you do that, you can TP into the fight at any time, and you just kind of posture around top river. You make sure they have to stay honest with the dive threat of Paucus and Ivano. But instead, they were like all in bot river, just like, hey, we kind of want to dragon, we kind of want to defend against the Baron. And it was UST's kind of decisive call of saying, hey, we're going to walk at Baron. You can come join us, or you can sit around the dragon and we'll just take the Baron anyway. And all 5 members of Winthrop walked off. They left Kindred there, but that's the wrong choice because you can't make it up to top river fast enough to contest against the Baron when you're the one with the smite. So a great decisive call from one of our champion teams. A very good reason why that they're sitting in this position again inside of one of these tournaments is because of that reason you saw right there. They are willing to make the hard calls.
Definitely. So here we saw that death rush being set up. We're looking for something, but no one over from UST looking to walk into it just yet. That Baron is still available. It's looking juicy. I know both teams are eyeing it down if they can grab themselves an initial pick, but gonna be a little bit of time still. Just vision gonna be cleared out. Waves gonna be pushed here as both teams starting to equalize out here. The gold differential slowly but surely, not necessarily tilting in USC's favor, but they're getting close to equalizing it out, right? Only about 3K down now in comparison to before. It was like a good 5-6K.
Yeah, and a significant amount of that right now probably sits within Denethor. About half an item up, probably closer to half an item, maybe a third of an item or something like that. Maybe 1,000 gold, 1,500 ahead of his lane opponent in terms of where the gold is at. And the rest of it's kind of dispersed among everybody else. A lot of it's probably in Pox as well with the number of kills and kind of kill participation sitting there. But it's not the same difference as having like an item extra on Xayah, an item extra on Kindred. They don't have that level advantage, which is what they were really looking for. So now they really have to play around these big ultimate type team fights where you've got the Gnar ultimate, you've got the Galio ultimate, and you've got this diving Rakan to set those two up so that your damage can work on a front to back basis trying to get through the rest of this team. You have to stall, keep Syndra out of the fight, or buy time to be able to hit those members. Winthrop, again, when I said that they had an easy, not an easy, they had a definitive but hard to execute on win condition, that's what I'm talking about. They have to get their dive into the back line so you can actually put in damage.
Yep, this is not how you do it though. Pocus with the quickness is stuck in the Hextech ultimatum. You see a nice little root coming out though. Porsche about to eat the dirt down. He goes into the hands of Frost Force. That's that first fuck that they need. Shogo though has that full lethal temple stack. Rogan just gonna get drop force in the back on off. A lot of damage coming through though from Robbie Bob Ivano. He's to dash on out of there with the Justice Punch, so he's gonna stay alive for now. They grab themselves one pick, but just the damage coming through. Nice double root though. Wolf's Hunger looking for that mounting dread maybe to get stacked on. Looking too likely. Robbie Bob stepping a bit too far forward there. Maybe overestimates his damage. Featherstorm gets dropped. Not going to be far enough, though. They do get the root, though. To Shogo, but it's not going to be enough. He finds himself a kill. Lance Respite does get dropped, and so does Dardoch. Shogo is free, and he's got that wild growth, and it should be enough. Never mind. Wings into red, and the Justice Punch to finish him off. Down he goes, and now they're going to look to run down Chuki's here. Ivano looking for the chase. Chuki's just a bit too fast for him, though. Zooming on out of there. The turrets are shooting at him. Oh, he's gonna get executed. No, has that shield still, so he's still running. Ivano, just get him, kill him, please. Chuki's too fast for him. And meanwhile, though, the rest of Winthrop are gonna look to start up this Baron. No one really there to contest except Porsche, who is on his way, but I fear for what little he can really do.
I'm waiting on bated breath here because Porsche is the one thing that can win this scenario for the side of UST. Has to come up with a clutch play to prevent this, but I don't think he's going to be able to. Like you said, I think it was danger first. The best you can hope for is like a hook shot steal in an attempt against the Baron. When you've got the execute and a double execute on Kindred, just never going to happen. Props to this team. We talked about the youngsters a lot and what they've been able to accomplish. I think that they've done very, very well inside of this game for themselves. But it is Frost Force who, once again, puts his head down and says, I'm going to go back one. We don't have the ultimates to go diving, right? They burn the Rakan ultimate, they burn the Galio ultimate on defense at the beginning of this fight, and they say, we can't really do anything with that. So then what does Frost Force do? He says, I'm going to flank around the side. I've got my ultimate. I'm going to win the fight against Robbie Bob, who's exposed, and against Dardoch, who's exposed. The other side of the fight, Shogo almost pulls something miraculous out for UST, but it doesn't happen because of the CC from Ivano. And those two sides of the fight losing simultaneously. Winthrop jumps back to 6K. It is this Kindred, this pick that they kind of bet the entire house on here, that is coming up spades for this player that's been around Winthrop longer than anybody. Really, really showing up today.
Definitely so here. Black Cleaver secure, gonna be cutting through them even more. 6-2, looking good right now. Looking at mobilities, Will has that IE unlocked, gonna be able to deal so much more damage. But regardless, this next drag is up in 30 seconds. You can already see UST positioning themselves into this river. Gotta be careful though, don't want to be caught out. See, Frost Force wants that Kindred mark there on the Crux. He needs the rest of the gang to come with him so he can grab it. Be careful though, as you know, that guy could be caught out, but it's looking like they're gonna be okay.
Okay, there's like 4 members here sitting in mid lane, just trying to keep this this mid wave back as far as it can be, because Denethor is the only one there, and they're giving up bot lane for it effectively, because Robbie's on the other side of the map just farming. They're gonna have to back. It seems like they're gonna lose quite a bit. There's 3 members still in the mid lane. They are going to lose bottom inhibitor.
Dude, they're just
is this just
right
gonna be a run in from Winthrop? That's the question.
They just cracked the base wide open there. Denethor was making sure that he could keep them kind of occupied in that mid lane, bouncing away, making sure he doesn't go down, and that's huge. That's gonna be a turret, 2 turrets, and an inhibitor down, easy peasy. Thanks a lot for that. And now they're gonna pivot on over to this drag. Do get spotted up by the ward.
Oh wow!
Nothing but a wall here. Robbie Bob is there. They see him. They got the damage coming through. Chuki's getting lower and lower. They'll push with the hook shot onto Denethor. Bit of damage coming through. But ultimately, both teams are just gonna back off, and it looks like he might opt to just give this drag on over. Don't want to risk anything. Don't want to give any no, not necessarily shutdowns. Just don't want to give any gold over. Try and go for that steal with the ulti, but collateral damage not gonna find much.
Throws it in as like a, you know, we'll roll the dice, see if we can get an at 20 on that one, but just not much to be able to accomplish right there. And well executed on once again from Winthrop, where they set up a situation that's like, you know, with a person pushing with the mid lane, never really going to get a bunch of prio there unless you kill that person, which could not happen. It was very well played defensively from Denethor, combined with the rest of the team pushing just all together on bottom side, nobody responding quick enough to make sure the inhibitor stayed up, means that now UST also has a cross-side disadvantage of having the siege minions come and perma pushing bot lane, which makes it harder to defend against the next Baron that's going to be popping up. I know this Baron is only just going away, so we only have a couple of minutes until the next one kind of pops up and is ready for Winthrop for the taking, but the setup is there for it once again, investing in some of the future of what this team's going to be able to accomplish. And again, my question for UST now, you're on a timer. You got 3 minutes till Baron, and you got 4 minutes till Soul Point for Winthrop. When is Robbie going to be ready? When is Shogo going to be ready? Yeah. How are you going to defend against this fight? Because you're not going to get another 5 minutes. This is, unless you steal the dragon and the Baron doesn't get aggressed against, you don't have more time in this game.
And they're losing much more than just time. Rebel down goes. They're tier 2 in this top lane, and it's like you mentioned, right? Robbie Bob, he's being prepped for his big reveal. The question is, will it be a flop or not? He's got to make something happen for the rest of his team. They've been holding on. They've been buying time. Will it be worth it though? Is the question. As game 1. The longer it goes, it seems like it's going into the hands of Winthrop Garnet. They've been just absolutely masterclass in it. They're trying to go for Porsche, who's looking for that recall. The hook shot over the wall is going to be okay. Nice little escape coming through there, but overall, Winthrop's just been looking great. We talked about how their plan is going to be tricky to execute. You want to answer the aggression with more aggression, but so far, they've been making it look pretty damn easy.
And this is going to be probably the moment that's got to be set up too. It's just about finding this fight now for UST and how you get around it. Do you want to be the first one in the river? If so, you got to find pushing pressure somewhere on the map. Somebody's got to be able to do it. Rabadon's is completed now for Robbie. That's a massive break point. Guardian Angel is done now for Shogo. Keeps him alive a second time in a fight. There's legitimate grounds that this team could take a pure 5-5 head type team fight as long as these two are competing against each other, especially if they can shut out Frost Force. That's a big thing. But again, getting your feet set in the right position is the hardest part of this game now, because Winthrop just controls space. So take a look at what they're doing across the map. Try to find where it is that they want to make their stand happen, because you've got a minute until Baron. Maybe they're willing to give that just to make sure that the dragon stacking doesn't actually come through for this team.
Could be incredibly detrimental if that does end up happening, right? If you get that extra, you get that Ocean Soul as well, looking at who they've got on their team, that's going to... You're not going to want to see that. You're going to be in for a feels bad moment. There we go. We finally found a moment to work it on in there. But yeah, like you mentioned, right, they're looking to make that stand. They already just have absolute control of this jungle. It's not another 50 seconds until this Baron gets up and running. But they're saying, listen, man, if you want to get to it, you've got to get through us first. This jungle is now Winthrop's property.
Yeah, it's something into this jungle. I'm sorry. I'm trying to force it now, and they are doing that. They're gatekeeping the jungle entrance with all these wards, making sure there's no way to contest. So, doing my best, but I'm no Regdor. Sorry.
I respect it, man. You did it. Regdor would be proud. I'll have to clip it and send it to him. We made it happen, man. We made it happen, and they're looking for make something happen here now as well. Looking like some kind of a potential engage, but how much is going to come out of it at the end of the day? They don't want to walk into that bush, and I feel that's just that vision superiority coming out once again from Winthrop. It allows them to just play so incredibly safe. They know at all times where everyone is, and now the Baron is up and available.
Just taking it.
Curious to see who looks to start it up first. I think they already started it up. They're already going for it here. They've got Denethor, Puckus, and Ivano, making sure that they can just, you know, keep them backed up. Look at that, already at 3K, gonna go down. They only needed 2 members to do it. Very nicely done.
I don't mind the idea. Okay, actually, this could be massive.
Dude, Shogo, man. Yeah, he's been stacking up that lethal tempo.
Oh, we got him!
Change of corruption there. He sidesteps the Everfrost, but Ivano is going to go gold. Pokes this here with the quickness. Flash on in. Finds the knockup. Heroic enters now as well. TP's coming through. Can they find the picks is the question. Ivano's low. Needs to get out. Porsche is here now as well with the TP. Shogo going to stay alive with the shields coming through here now, though Dardock needs to be very careful. Lower and lower. It's going to burn. Goes down. They find themselves a pick. Lands respite. Going to keep the squad alive. Porsche going to go down too. That's 2 members down from UST. The channel from the TP into the base. And Rebel, that might just be game.
I could see exactly what they were going for here, but it just doesn't matter. Alpox is going to ruin every chance they had.
So toxic, man. Robbie Bob will at least kill him for his transgressions. Chukis has to hold the line, though. But Denethor is here. It's looking like a bit of a Denethor diff. Finds himself yet another kill. Shogo has to do nothing but watch as his support eats the dirt. They're going to try their damnedest to hold the line here. Avino trying to create some space for the rest of the squad. If they look to take out the second Nexus turret, down it goes. The Nexus is exposed. Just got to get some free hits on it. Robbie Bob can do nothing but watch, and he goes down. Shogo, last man standing. He won't go down, but the Nexus will.
I get the idea in the last minute here for UST. They're in such a bad position because, again, your bottom inhibitor's down. You got to find a way to contest one of these 2 objectives. They say, okay, nuts to Baron. We don't care about that. We're going to contest mid lane prio. Shogo goes for a play in the mid lane. He's able to find something, but stopwatch stalls enough time for the rest of this Winthrop squad to kind of join back up, and they just cannot peel somebody off. There's too much of a gold difference. They don't have the power to chip off any of the pieces of the armor here, and when they start to lose members, that's when the game is just completely over. Even if you get Robbie Bob back fast enough, it feels like all they had to do was take the dragon, and then they could have played this game out where they got Ocean Soul and Baron, all 5 members. They just walk down mid lane and finish off the base in commanding fashion. So props to UST trying to find that big moment, but Winthrop showing up in massive ways here in this upper bracket finals, man.
Yeah, definitely. So overall, just the communication as well coming out here from Winthrop, right? The moment they get those kills, they're just like, listen, man, have fun in their base, right? We're going to send Pocus out, go hunt the other members down. They cancel the TPs coming through, make sure that no one can get back to defend, and then they just close it out. They invested so much, it feels like, into Frost Forest, and honestly, they got a lot more than just their money's worth from that.
It really did. The fact that that investment paid off tenfold for them, making sure that the Kindred was going to get plays. They doubled, tripled, quadrupled down to that bottom lane, made sure that the Kindred was going to be strong enough to win a game like this. Xayah was going to be strong as well. And then how about Denethor clutching up in the top lane too? There was no bending in the top lane, won that matchup pretty handily on his own. Even Ivano making plays around the map. Yes, he wasn't super ahead in gold, wasn't really
to survive, right?
Yeah, he survived. He made some things happen. He was a big team fighter. That's all he really had to do on the galley. He got his job done. So Winthrop, perfect game planning for game number 1. I think game number 2, it's going to be a lot harder. I think UST is going to have a better drafting game plan for this one, especially if they swap over to the red side, deny Pockets that counter pick, defy anybody else that counter pick. But one way or another, it feels like they got to step up the game because that one felt like Winthrop had their number from minute 1.
Definitely, they have to step up their game because now UST needs to win back-to-back. Backs are going to be against the wall, and so there it is, baby. Gaslight, gatekeep, and kill bot was the motto of this game, and Frost Forest, and especially took it very personally to heart, did exactly what he had to do. But we'll see if he can do that in game 2 because we're going to throw it to a quick break, and then I love this. Yes, stacks on stack. I want all the memes coming through. I love to see it. But overall, let's see if they can stack it up game number 2. Sure, there's no more memes coming, so I can actually transition on over to a quick break. And then when we're back, we'll be back for the draft of game number 2 and see if UST's what it's got has what it takes to stay in this thing. We'll be right back. All right, all right, all right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm still here. Rebel's still here. Both our teams are still here, so that means this thing ain't over just yet. And Rebel, I think the question on everybody's minds is the Gnar and the Kindred making it through the draft this time around, man? Because it was looking a little dirty. It was a bit of a Denethor diff and a bit of a Frost Forest gap.
I don't think this game we're going to see ourselves with UST first picking the Graves. And I think that was the big thing, is that they had the right setup for the Kindred, where it's like we attack bot lane, coupled with the fact that you have the Graves matchup, so it's a good one for that Kindred to work with. So I don't think that one pops back up. Now, the Gnar, on the other hand, I think could be a legitimate problem that they do have to address in some way or another. Either have to wait with their top lane pick just a little bit longer, coming up with a slightly different counter, that type of thing, because they had a winning, preferred matchup here for Porsche, and yet they still could not manage it. Denethor was just still too much of a beast to make that one happen.
Yeah, honestly, it didn't even need jungle help. Went with the solo bolo, right? Did him absolutely dirty. Was a menace in the team fights as well. Some of those double stuns coming out from the Gnar ulti were absolutely huge. He was looking great. I hope that I hope to God that my boy Ivano doesn't just get put on the sort of slave Galio duty. It was a little unfortunate to see like my man was like, yo, I'm here, I'm big, I'm doing things, and so he was doing the Lord's work. But I would love to see him get to pop off a little bit more.
Yeah, I seem to remember him having pretty mean champions that like to jump into fights. So like when it's Lissandra or Vex, that's always something. Galio is a bit more responsive, has that same type of thing. But yeah, it's something that I think it needs to happen. It's very, very few teams like to do this, where they just go complete econ mid lane against Robbie Bob and say, all right, Robbie Bob, just win the game for the other team. It was a circumstance where Robbie Bob did not do that, which is rare. It doesn't happen all that often.
True.
So maybe this game they get him something else. Again, it takes me back to that discussion we were having before game one, where it's like Syndra takes a minute to get online, doesn't have the wave clear to just pure abuse the Galio to start with. And yes, the Galio lane is easy and does get the Syndra out of the laning phase. But before that point, the game was already won for the side of Winthrop. So it's like, if they had a Rise, would that have made a difference? If they had a different champion, would that have made a difference for Robbie Bob's impact across the entire game as well? And so coming into this game, that's another thing to consider. If they go back to Galio, do you have an even more punishing pick, something that can aggress against the lane? Or even more so, do you have something that can roam and prevent that Galio from having that kind of impact?
Yeah, and it almost feels like Winthrop knew exactly that was going to happen, right? They picked themselves up the Kindred. They say, listen, we're going to play aggressive. We're going to look for dives early on, and kind of it feels like force Starduck to actually not be able to help that mid lane, not really be able to help the Syndra get out of that lane early, but instead has to answer to these crazy triple, quadruple ganks repeatedly coming out from Frost Forest saying, listen, your bot lane, it doesn't get to live. Gatekeep, gaslight, kill bot over and over and over.
Truly, yeah. That's enough to talk about in this game, is that I think the Varus pick was also just taken a little bit too far. Yeah. It's usually a pretty decent. Yeah, there it is. That's what we like to see. Having the immobile kind of marksman that early on in the draft, it had to be a Shogo thing where he just said, okay, he really prioritizes the champion, or they just see a lot of value in it. Having it punished with the Rakans, I think is a little bit more difficult than what it looked like, because that game made it look really easy. If August is going to show that Rakan and have that early level 1 mobility, he's willing to take that check at the beginning of the game, you just can't do that. Like, you have to be a little bit more relaxed with what you're going to do on bottom side as well. There were a lot of messes that I think UST made that are going to be more than easily swept up for a game number 2 here. So I'm excited to see what their plan is now.
Yeah, well, let's find right out what their plan exactly is going to be, because draft is underway for possibly the final game of tonight. Listen, man, if this turns out to be the final game, we barely even been here, man. These are the 2 top echelon teams. I want to see a full 3-game series, but regardless, if Winthrop has anything to say about it, they're saying, no, we're taking it home tonight, baby, with this game. So let's get into the draft itself. And already, the Gnar, it's been taken off the table. They want that. Get it out. Get it out. We don't want to see it.
Denethor is really good at the champion. It's one of the best that Denethor has got readily available, and it smashed that matchup, and they must just not have an answer for it. So they're going to leave something up from last game that they just were not able to try to handle. I think they have a better grasp maybe of what Winthrop wants to go for here. I doubt that they take out Galio on first rotation. They would probably force Winthrop to take it on first rotation again, because if it gets to second rotation, that's when you're like, okay, Galio could probably be removed. Cheaper, more easily effective mid laners that don't need that much income to be effective inside of fights can really be removed to make sure that Ivano doesn't have that same kind of effect. Force him onto something that's a bit more skill checky for Robbie Bob, or drive him down that tier list and say, okay, pick I don't even know. Pick something even worse than Galio as an econ mid lane. Pick a Lulu mid lane and just power farm with your jungle or something like that.
And anything's possible, man. I feel like such a statement as well coming out from UST is that they opted to stay on the blue side, right? They want that first priority pick coming through. It kind of feels like they're saying, like, it's not you, it's me. We know what we did wrong in draft number 1. We're going to rectify that, and we're going to come back to just wreck all of y'all. But Porsche is not getting that gangplank. Once again was taken off the table. And the second ban that's going to be coming out from Winthrop. Very curious to see, because I feel like, honestly, they could just run it back. Everything felt pretty good ban-wise for them.
You just got to make sure that some of these bigger, more overarching type champions that are massive here for the side of UST are taken off. The Gangplank and the Victor are the 2 solo lane ones that you're really looking at. And then it's just a matter of, okay, do you want to put some target towards Dardoch? Do you want to put some target towards Shogo? What champion is going to be left here? And I think they can wait until this ban comes through to really get a grasp on that. UST, they have a chance of banning another tank, which I think is what they did last game with a tank jungler, making sure Frost Force didn't have the Maokai. And so if Maokai gets through this ban, it's almost certainly going to be a Winthrop ban, because if they let it through, it gets first picked. Like, almost certainly Dardoch will take that champion and run with it immediately if Maokai is left to him.
Yeah, definitely so. Listen, I asked you before the draft, does the Gnar and the Kindred make it through? We have our answer. The answer is a resounding no. Both picks being taken right off the bat. First rotation. Don't want to see any of that, and Winthrop so far have just ran it back, right? It's like you talked about. They just took those 2 priority in the solo lane picks. They got rid of the Victor. They got rid of the GP, and so now the question is, do they look for something again that's like that? Gonna be the Graves, actually. Honestly, something that gave them a bit of a hard time towards that mid game, so understandable that they want to get rid of it.
Yeah, but Maokai's available now. It's just like, okay, you could maybe flex it to top lane even if Porsche really wants it in certain matchups, because I think it's perfectly fine into a lot of matchups in top lane. But also it's a great jungler for Dardoch if Dardoch wants to take it. So it's a flex pick. It's a stronger pick than what you've had before. And I think it fits so well for USD. It's hard not to. Last game they banned it. It must have anticipated saying, like, okay, if we're not going to pick it B1, then like they're going to pick it, so we can't let that happen. But now putting that priority towards it, this is even better. I forgot. They banned out Aatrox 3rd, and I don't know why the Graves has been subbed in for it. They did not need to ban Graves when Maokai was available, because they could have easily taken that trade. Now they've given the best top laner in the game over to Porsche. That's not a good thing.
There's a lot more Worlds reminiscent coming through right now with those 2 hovers and with the lock-in as well. But Denethor here saying he's hovering it. I'll hold my tongue for just a moment, but if he does end up locking that in, would be kind of like a he did. He's saying, let me show you how to play Camille, my boy. This is how we get things done up here.
In a bit of a skill matchup, the Denethor says, okay, I'll take the hands check, man. Like, I'll do it. Let's see what you got here, Porsche, because now you got that potential kind of popping up. And, okay, the Heimer this early would be wild to think of.
Surely not. We saw it banned out in game number 1, right? Coming out from UST. They didn't want to see it on the Rift. Was left open this time around, since, you know, they had to get rid of the Gnar. And, okay, we're not going to see it. Unfortunately, it would have been funny to see, but like you mentioned, it would have been a little crazy to lock it in already. The Ziggs does get locked in, however.
Even the Ziggs is just a little bit quirky here, because you're thinking with Heimer hover, it's like, okay, you're probably meaning you would save that for 3. But the Ziggs hover is kind of the same. Unless you're anticipating flexing the Ziggs between mid and bot lane, it's such a strange pick. Not a lot of people have been picking it as of lately. It's really been a standard type marksman meta to be able to work with here. So if you throw it bot lane, now you have to play it into a Lucian Nami, which is what I thought was going to happen in the last game. But they hadn't picked a bot lane yet. So now UST sees the Ziggs and they say, okay, we pick Lucian Nami and we will just win the pure like level 1, level 2, level 3 type area and never let the Ziggs really get off the ground. And so I wonder if Ivano's got it in him to be able to take this champion and just say, hey, let's throw it in the mid lane. Let's just pound waves back and forth between me and Robbie Bob, and let's pick something that works well into the Lucian Nami bot.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, Ivano would be the type to do it. I love from UST, they're basically going, how do you answer a team that's already answering aggression with aggression? Just give them more aggression, right? The Lucian Nami coming in this time around, the amount of trade potential that's coming through, going to be super strong. Curious to see if we see the first strike Lucian coming out, something that we've seen kind of rise to a bit more prevalence as, you know, the last couple of weeks. But we'll have to wait and see once we get on the Rift, as the Nautilus being locked in here, something to counter the aggression coming through here from that Lucian Nami. How you feeling about that?
It's of interest only because we haven't seen jungle, and I think that Winthrop really wants to prioritize jungle county here on this red side. That's what they did in the first game with the Kindred grab, and so now it feels like that's going to be the same way. The difference is this game, UST has held their jungle picks so long that Winthrop has been like, okay, they have to respond to Aatrox, so they pick more of a skill matchup. Then they pick their bot lane and they go Ziggs, or potentially their mid lane if they want to flex it. But one way or another, it feels like the tier list draft kind of goes to the side of UST right now. UST got the Aatrox, they got the Lucian Nami. These are things that we know are incredibly menacing. And now they're not even going to use it. Are they really going to hold? So this tells me they really are potentially going to flex the Ziggs. Because if they would not dump the counter jungle if they weren't willing to do the Ziggs, especially since Maokai's available. That's just like a blanket, hey, we're taking that champion. This is also something that Winthrop loves to do, is just be able to slam that. But all three of these jungle picks, to me, it definitely shows they want to potentially flex the Ziggs back between mid and bot lane. Otherwise, they would have just taken their mid lane or taken something low econ outside of the Galio and Ahri and just said, all right, we're throwing Ziggs bot lane and then let's get our counter pick.
Yeah, definitely so. Locking in that jungle in, and once again, we're seeing the Syndra, however, once again, locking that in. Robbie Bob going to be feeling a little bit more confident this time around. Obviously, if he goes up against that Ziggs, we're going to have a bit of an easier time now with the jungle locking coming in. Viego being hovered is going to get locked in. Reset City is on its way, Rebel.
Yeah, it's a situation where, like, you got this really big burst of damage to be able to jump in on top of with this Syndra, you know, in this jungle 2v2 up against the Vi. That's something you have to think about. This would be menacing. Okay, so they end up getting just a pure mid lane matchup.
Please. Come on, dude. Go on, do it. He's over the door. No, please, no. No, I'm out.
That's so tragic.
How could you do me like this?
Oh my goodness.
How could you do me like this? I've been baited, I've been betrayed, bamboozled, finessed.
It would have been amazing to see you see your name take check, because I don't think we've ever cast together. I've never seen you see the back.
I've been gaslit. Yes. I have been gaslit.
Yeah, we're just waiting for the rest of it to come through to fruition, unfortunately. It would have been an awesome pick. And again, I've actually heard good things about Echo recently, so I was like, okay, Ivana would have something like this prepped. But again, it's the Ziggs pass back to mid lane. They leveraged it really heavily in the draft. They say, let's go for the Kai'Sa. It's interesting because, like, the Kai'Sa Nautilus is such a unique and kind of, it's a bot lane that's been powerful for a very long time, so they do end up grabbing that one. But, like, the Ziggs doesn't feel right here, just because you're playing into another really long range mage that's also going to scale well. And again, it feels like Robbie, if you go for D-mats and Ivano doesn't go for D-mats, then wave control is going to go over, and then you take over the 2v2 in the mid jungle. So UST just has a more powerful mid jungle in exchange for, you trick them into getting Kai'Sa this late in the draft when you could have just drafted it for the Ziggs anyway.
Yeah, Ivano's just saying, listen, I'm done, man. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not being outranged anymore. I'm done with this tank crap. Get me out of here, man. Give me a different pick. And they give him the Ziggs this time around. I'm, once again, looking at Frostforce, right? This Vi, another one of these jungle picks that can get very aggressive very early on, and especially once that level 6 comes around, that cease and desist opens up so many more opportunities of getting on top of, for example, Shogo, right? You have the def charges as well from Pocus. Beautiful old synergy coming through there. Gonna make it incredibly hard for the side of UST to actually sort of zone off for him.
It's a position also where, like, now instead of attacking because you want to get ahead as Frostforce, you're attacking for your lane so that you can win them some better advantage, because it's going to take a minute for the Ziggs to get kind of enshrined in a game like this, entrenched in a game like this. The same for the Kai'Sa, where the beginning of the game could go disastrously if you're not careful. So now Frostforce is playing a little bit more of a sweeper role where you're like, hey, I got to help people out. UST this time feels like their composition is on so much more of a front foot. Aggressive across the board. They've got a great mid-jungle combination. This feels so much more classic UST for me, and I have a lot more faith in them this game than I do on the opposite side. I don't think Winthrop's composition does them a ton of favors in this game.
Yeah, well, you know what else is classic? Winthrop Rebel winning. And they have to do exactly that if they want their spot in the grand final secured. But it's going to be a bit of a tall order. They need to win back-to-back. It is the best of 3. You can see that little red blip right under Winthrop Garnet's gold. That means they took game number 1 for anyone joining us just now. And since it is a best of 3, that means first to 2 wins. So UST, they got to get that ball rolling, and they got to do it quick because they're running out of time.
They are in a position where I feel like game 2's draft has gone so much better for UST to be able to compete here. I'm actually running into a situation where I'm thinking to myself, if these front lines clash against one another, right? You've got Aatrox, you've got Viego, and they're supported by the Nami, and you're running into a Camille, a Vi, and a Nautilus. That sounds to me like paper to a paper shredder. Am I wrong with this assessment, Echo?
Yeah,
I feel like Viego and Aatrox win that 3v2.
Yeah, definitely have a point. I will say, though, I do feel like, right, if UST Esports does end up falling behind, and once again, we kind of see this, you know, they need to buy time for Robbie up. They need to stall. The lack of the poke coming out this time around from UST Esports other than Robbie Bob could make it a bit tricky for them, because we saw it in game number 1 too, right, where it's like there was so much poke coming out from Winthrop Garnet that they were able to get a lot of those HP bars somewhat low before they actually looked to engage. And I feel this time around you've got the Void Secrets from mobility, and you've just got literally everything in Ivano's kit.
You do. I run the problem of if Porsche ends up being a bit of a brick and you end up getting bulky, if Dardoch ends up being a bit of a brick and you end up getting bulky, then it's like, does Ivano's damage really end up mattering? Like, who is he?
Yeah.
He's targeting for the Cinder, he's targeting for the Lucian and the Nami, but like, if you don't kill the frontliner, it's kind of like, you ever see Olaf in a game just kind of take off and he just runs at the enemies and you do anything you want, kind of like a death ball? It's that situation where it's like, how does Ziggs deal with that? And Ziggs doesn't deal with that very well. And so I'm running into that problem just a little bit. Not to mention, he got bullied a little bit on the first couple waves. Robbie Bob, if you didn't know, recently came back from top 16 in the one-on-one tournament that was held in New York. I think it was at the same place that Worlds was held, actually. Oh. So yeah, you've shown a little bit of that on level 1 because he was crushing Ivano. Actually forced out already, I think, 2 pods, or at least a pod. That was a pod of biscuit, but yeah.
Oh, definitely. So if it's anything we know here, it's Potts diff. Oh, it's gonna be incredible. Listen, man, I've seen too many Potts diffs for my lifetime. And Denethor, though, has been getting a lot of damage onto Porsche there as well. Precision Protocol gonna go in once again. Ooh. Nicely using that passive shield to block some damage, but Frost Forest in a bit of a tricky spot. Dardoch saying this time around, listen, man, the jungle belongs to me, and I'm gonna put some pain in there.
Yeah, no wave clear out of lane. Again, Ivano, I think, getting pushed off on the level 1, having to burn pots, not really being able to stand up against Robbie Bob, and him kind of having this early matchup up against the Ziggs means that there's so much more space for this jungle matchup.
So close, dude. He's not dead. How is this guy alive? What is his HP at? I need to know. Production. Can we find out, please? Because that was, oh, no, it's too late. He healed already, but it was pretty damn low. That was easily like double digits.
Yeah, it was definitely down to double digits pretty significantly. The only thing that kept him alive right there was Doran's shield. Not only the blocking of damage, but also just a little bit of regen you get after taking damage from someone. The Ignite was trying to deny that little bit there, and that might have made the actual difference between death and life right there for Porsche.
Already going for the engage, though. Once again, Shogo being taken incredibly low, has to flash on forward to escape. They're going to do on the Chookies instead. Mobility does get hit by the bubble, but Shogo has to be able to flash forward for Pocus, though. Finds some more damage. Overall, though, it's getting incredibly close. Pocus going in with the hook. Might survive here. Does indeed survive. First blood going over to him. Beautiful usage of that shield coming through, and now Shogo has to be very careful where he said flash forward. Oh! The Acathian rain is huge, and the auto attack to finish the job. That's going to be a kill from Mobility. The Shmoovability coming through. Gaslight, Gatekeep, and kill bot.
Okay, bot lane, we got more action because this is going to be chasing off. Pocus is going to try to save because he's got reinforcements coming in from the Vi.
Yeah, Poke is going to give his life for his ADC down. He will go in the top lane. Denethor with the 1v1 with Porsche. Now Dardoch has taken the body, looking for that hook flash forward. The dude is a Giga Chad. Giga Brain coming through as well. And a double kill for Dardoch.
Okay. A little bit of chase down here between Ivano and Robbie Bob too. I was wondering if it was going to lead to anything else. That was a lot of damage, but Ivano not going to get that one. But that bottom lane play, once again, Dardoch cleaning up a little bit. I was going to talk about how the fact Winthrop during this abominably dominance has been insane. Mobility and Pockets have done such an amazing job into Shogo and Chookies. And again, I don't know how much of it is in terms of preparation. These two have played together though, so you'd expect there to be something. But Mobility and Pockets have just been winning this bot lane matchup pretty much on their own, even regardless of any kind of jungle attention. So finally, something gotten back here for UST Esports with Dardoch fighting that amazing double kill. But it's something that has to be salvaged. You cannot let this continue with Mobility and Bacchus just running dominance over top of the UST bot lane. That's one of the big pillars that this team is really built on.
Yeah, I mean, we literally talked about, right, that Shogo is kind of the man we're looking at in this bot lane as well, with Chookies here as his first drag already going to go into the hands of Winthrop. Going to go ahead and secure that one. But we talked about how that's such a huge pillar, and right now, that pillar has been crumbling these last games.
It has. Now, I will give this over, which is that this little kind of circumstance was actually pretty wild. Okay,
that thought, man, because going over the wall, the Vault Breaker, and there it is. Gaslight, Gatekeep, Kill Bot is the motto of this series, man. Once again, Frost Forest over the wall and says, listen, if you're a bot laner, you do not get to play. When will you understand this lesson, old man?
This was insane, too, because this whole time, off the back, Mobility and Pockets were down, like, a decent wave, and it was frozen by Shogo and Chookies. And so then they walk out to Dragon and take Dragon because they have nothing else to do. They cannot break the wave. And a gank from Frost Force catches Shogo and Chookies off guard. I think it was Shogo more than either of the two that really got punished on that one, expecting to have a little bit more free space, expecting Frost Force to head back to top side. But instead, he just loops back to bottom lane as Dardoch.
Dardoch is here, has that Spectral Maw ready, but a nice little hook shot there is going to make sure that Denethor stays alive. Bit of damage coming through, gonna allow Porsche to take some control of this lane, but overall, not Not going to find too much. Dardoch on his way on up, though, looking to once again just manhandle the jungle of Frost Force here. We saw it earlier on as well, how he just shoved him out. But this time around, he's gonna be lenient. He's going to leave that red buff to Frost Force.
Yeah, I think the big difference between last game and this game is that it was much harder to gank for topside against the Gnar with the Camille, and he tried it a couple times, but it didn't really work out all that well as the Graves, and wasn't able to make anything happen. Now against the Camille, but you have the Aatrox, I feel like it's warranted to try it a couple of times no matter what, just because of how well the Aatrox can handle himself inside of a game like this. Again, the Aatrox feels like an absolute raid boss in the late game against the Ziggs. The only thing that'll take him down is the damage that the Kaiser's gonna be able to put out, but he's got so much of his own. It should be perfectly fine for him. So I like the idea of Dardoch taking this advantage up the top and continuing that little reign of aggression. And it does match a little bit of what's happening on bot side, where Winthrop are just kind of winning once again on the bottom side.
Yeah, well, that does get channeled over. Folks, not going to find anything. Listen, I'm never going to forget seeing Sniper's Aatrox in PG. It was like 600 HP heals coming through late game.
Divine Sunder.
Yeah, like, oh my lord. That was nutty to see as Frost Force is in the area. Porsche needs to step a little bit further forward, but look at that Dardoch over the wall as well. It's going to be a 2-on-2 flash forward from Porsche to escape there, though. The nice damage coming through. Heartbreaker onto Denethor, and he might just be eating the dirt tonight. Down he goes. Yet another kill going to the pockets of Dardoch. Meanwhile, in this bot lane, Poke is looking for something, but not going to find it.
Big carry potential now from Dardoch here. He's up probably 4 camps over top of Frost Force, combined with the fact that he's got 3 kills on this Viego means that he is an absolute beast to work with. You can pair up with Robibot, have these stuns. Again, this mid-jungle combination now is so much better because you got this range, you got this push out of the mid lane up against the Ziggs as the Syndra, and you got this powerful Viego bot lane once again.
Yeah, speaking of powerful, look at that damage coming out. Chucky is going to eat the dirt. The culling from Shogo. Its minions diff, though, as they block all the damage, and so Pocus will not be going down just yet. Maybe looking for something more, but incredibly low there with the Lightbringer. And so ultimately, I don't think they're going to be able to kill Shogo just yet, but I'm sure the opportunity will present itself. But regardless, that's going to be another kill going into Mobility's pocket.
Will, again, the bot lane just continuing this reign of dominance between these two, utilizing these little tiny windows that are available between the disconnects that are there between Shogo and Chucky's. Has just been such a tale tonight. You have to think, again, how much this has made an effect. Chucky's get brought in basically at the last minute. The Rovex has not been able to make it home yet to be able to kind of join the rest of the team as the primary player that's been on this roster, and how much an effect that it's had, not only in the bot lane 2v2, but also the rest of the map if you're trying to link up with, again, mid lane or with your jungle, how much that also makes a difference. Support always has that level of communication that's going to be with the rest of the team as well. So here, UST, they're better in gold situation than what they were in the last game. But again, this bot lane, something to keep your eye on. They are at least up 20 CS. That's a big thing, is that somehow they've been able to stay relevant in that regard.
Yeah, it's definitely something that feels like a lot of that gold right in the hands of Dardoch at the moment here. 3-0 already has that Divine Sunder are going to be doing so much more damage, healing so much more as well. And he is going to be just that huge carry potential. We feel like we've shifted it from looking at Shogo and Chuki's in the bot lane on over to Dardoch here in the jungle. Needs to make something happen. It's him and Chuki's are roaming around a little bit, looking if they can find something. But at the moment, all is quiet. The calm before the storm, and now a lot more gold influx is going to be going into the hands of Mobility. Make sure that he can come up here from that 20 farm deficit that he had before.
Yeah, it was a really tough situation right there for Denethor. The wave was in a horrible place trying to deal with it. That was an immediate flash away from Robbie. I was just paying respect to the fact that Frost Force on the bottom side was able to come up. But Porsche, again, had such good control of this wave that Denethor was forced to walk into mid lane. They kind of caught him in the act, which would have led to something good. But
yeah, with a lot of damage there, too. You cannot underestimate Porsche's damage coming through. No. Dragon is up once again, and it looks like UST are going to have to give it. And they, respectful that, you got to respect it. You got to give it over to just look to instead head on top lane and counter jungler a little bit, but got to be careful because this is very reminiscent, it feels, of game number 1 where Winthrop was able to get that dragon so fairly quick.
This, however, I really like because they're heading up to punish this Camille even more. Already down 30 ACS. They've got 3. They've got Rift Herald. They want to crack top tower.
Big Daddy Denethor better make something happen, though. It's not looking too likely the ball delivery system lands, and there's just too much CC for him to handle. And so here also for the turret is about to go down. Rift Herald gets called in, and they're looking to get some gold influx into Porsche as well. Get this man online.
And again, it's a rarity because you don't often see the side of the UST go for plays like this where you're looking for plays to topside. Actually, this is gorgeous. No way, he just missed that Q.
He missed that. Oh, that is so unfortunate. The Bolt Breaker not quite going to find its mark. The Herald, however, will find that top tier 2. They might just take the second turret down as well. Honestly,
Right,
normally they're to respond. It might be Porsche, though, taking one too many turret shots. Never mind, not going to be happening. As we can see, Frost Force is on his way up. Does have that cease and desist available. Death. Denethor, we could call him Death if you look at him from game number 1, but Denethor was on his way up as well. But gonna let them live for now.
Nothing too crazy. It's wild to me, some of the stuff that's happened in this game. UST holds 1,500 gold lead at this point, but it doesn't feel like they should necessarily. That one big play to the top side right there was the big kind of difference maker when it comes to the gold. But otherwise, it's basically been top plays for bottom side plays, where Shogo and Chookies have been on the receiving end of some aggression from Mobility and Puckus in exchange for the play that Dardoch's been able to make into mid lane, into top lane, in all these different positions. And I think this is the trade-off that needed to happen in game 1 as well. The problem was, again, the times that Dardoch went up there with the Graves, it was hard to set up any sort of play as the Camille into the Gnar effectively because of how well Denethor was playing. But again, it's a lot easier this time. Porsche has kind of much more agency in the pure one-on-one against the Camille, and it's allowed for Dardoch to really open up the top side of the map and do quite a bit more with it. So I really like the direction that they're going. Once again, this Aatrox Viego frontline is going to be such a beast in the late stage of the game. I think it's going to be difficult for Kai'Sa or for the Ziggs to be able to put damage into it. I could be proven wrong. Mobility is going to have to show me what he's capable of as this new ADC on Winthrop. But the other really big problem is that Robbie Bob has a kill in this game and is still farming really effectively. And so you have to be terrified, once again, that range advantage that Syndra has over the Kai'Sa could draw her out of a fight.
Definitely so here in buying time for him in game 1. They're doing the same game 2 as well, but this time around, Robbie Bob should be having a much better showing here. Ivano this time around has been staying in lane a lot more, hasn't really had the chance, it feels, to actually roam around, try and make something happen on these other lanes in comparison to when he was the Gali, right? Had that global ult, he had that hero's entrance, could get in where he was needed. This time around, he's got to be a little more precise with his movements.
Just a bit. We'll see what Frost Force and Bacchus have to say about this top side of the map as the Aatrox slowly getting collapsed on a full lane swap for what is likely the Rift Herald. Ultimate got popped.
Death charges though, but flash on forward. Really unfortunate. Feels like the communication was a little bit off there. Pocus stepping up forward a bit too early. Frost Force wasn't quite there just yet, but that is the ulti and flash out here for Porsche, and you can already see the rest of UST. They're pivoting on over, looking if they can find something here. Dardoch is going to be leading the charge. There's some vision though, and you can already see how Dardoch, he knows that he's a menace. He knows that he can go wherever he pleases.
The unadulterated power that the Viego holds over this game right now, it just means that even when Winthrop have 3 in the top side of the map and they're the first ones there, force out the flash and ultimate from the top lane, Aatrox, who's also doing well, it does not matter. If you're on even numbers and the Viego is there, you are not winning the fight anytime soon, and they know that. So here, leveraging all of that into pushing into the opposing jungle just as often as you can. Just a little bit of catching the bottom lane here for Porsche, who actually wants Denethor.
Yeah, indeed he does. Denethor fighting for his life, but it's not looking like it's going to be enough. Hook shot over the wall. He's able to escape that time around, and now Dardoch looking for something here. Frost Force dashing away. Ultimately, though, trading some blows. Not too much just yet. Maybe able to leave that control in there, get a little bit of vision going, take this Rift Herald, and it looks like Winthrop doesn't want to answer just yet. Dragon up in 50, so maybe they just look to position themselves perfectly in the river to make something happen, or maybe they even look for the collapse on to Porsche in this bot.
Gold graph shows so much about this game. Mobility has a ridiculous amount of gold, but everyone else on the team is just behind. Even Shogo currently sits ahead of Ivano just by about 100, 120 gold, something like that. And so, again, they don't feel comfortable. They have to get Mobility a front-to-back T-fight to be able to focus one target at a time. And again, the question boils down to, how does he kill Viego? How does he kill Aatrox? They got to figure out solutions to that long before anything else, because now Winthrop's in a position where they are not winning this game by 4,000, 5,000 gold, 3,000 gold. They can't afford to give a fight like they did in the last game where they went on like a 3,000, 4,000 gold swap over to the side of UST. If they give a fight like that, it feels like the game could already be over here. Winthrop have to really pick and choose their battles and when they want to make plays on the map. This Viego, this Aatrox, make it so difficult to try to take that pure team fight that they're looking for. And so to me, the question falls down to Winthrop. What are you doing? Frost Force, you're a shot caller. Like, when do you want to make these plays happen? What do you want to do on this map? You're leveraging Ziggs in a side lane right now. I think that's a great idea for now, but it's not going to get you into late game with an advantage. It's just going to keep you afloat here in this mid game.
And I also love the itemization coming through, especially from Dardoguard, realizing that him and Porsche are going to be those two like big frontliners. We see the Dead Man's Plate most likely looking to be built next here now that he has the Divine Thunder already. Hasn't even opted to get those upgraded boots yet. Wants to stack that armor, wants to stack that HP, make sure they can do his damnedest to hold off the assault from anyone coming over from Winthrop. At the very least, they're going to grab themselves that turret, though, and the top lane tier 1 is under control. Now Dardock has found pockets, though. And you get the kill flash over the wall, though, but inside the Hex Flash, Heartbreaker actually to chase him with the smite coming through as well. Tidal Wave going to follow. Should get the knockup. They will find it indeed. Stun comes through. Nice little bubble lands. Another kill going on over to Shogo. And they'll do the same to Avino as well in this top lane. You can't be giving over gold like this, Winthrop. Come on now.
That's tough. They had a lot of control to topside. They'd used it for the Rift Herald earlier on, which is going to get popped for mid lane here. And again, what are you to do when there's that kind of numbers advantage? They've given up the opposite side of the map. They say, okay, Camille can have gold. We don't care. Camille is at best going to like kind of average to where the Aatrox is going to be, and I don't think they're ever really terrified about that one-to-one matchup of the Aatrox versus the Camille. The Aatrox is going to be more valuable basically the remainder of the game. This is a diver for Denethor that I don't think has worked out perfectly. It's not going to be able to split push the way that they want it to, the way that like a Fiora might have that win condition of. So
he's looking for something. Season assist onto Dardock, though, but the rest of the squad is here. Porch is here. Forest Fire again, taking lower and lower and lower. Not quite going to go down, though. They'll find themselves. They're shut down. Porch needs to run for his life. Mobility, looking for the auto attacks to find the damage. Pockets will get it, though. Flash forward from Denethor, looking for Chookies. Can't quite get him, though. Robbie Bob is going to be going out as well, and overall, the rest of UST are going to escape, but that's 2 huge kills on the side of Winthrop.
It is both frontliners caught very deep in the jungle, very far forward. It allows this damage to get dumped into them before the fight really starts. And that's the kind of win condition that you're setting up here for the side of Winthrop. You need to be able to pop the frontliners before they have a chance to kind of start fighting back, get the Sunder, get the Eclipse, and start getting some of the drain tanking out on the front line against your backliners, against this Kai'Sa and against this Zig. So well played right there from Winthrop, being able to get something. It's unfortunate it was a minute behind when the Baron was going to come through. If there was a time for UST to get gold back, that was probably the best time for those two to end up falling down, as there was just nothing really to take across the map. Still 3 minutes until the next dragon's going to be up as well. And I also really like the item decision here from Shogo. You see it a little bit, but the Essence Reaver and the Kraken Slayer means that he can actually go diving for the Kai'Sa. He can go diving for the Ziggs as opposed to anything else, which is a lot of threat. Like the Aatrox and the Viego are going to handle a lot of these frontliners that are going to be trying to jump in and trying to assassinate Shogo. So Shogo is able to get past them and slip in or kind of put damage and more burst into the front line the quicker that the resets come through.
And look at that damage coming through. Frost Forest just gets caught up there. It's just a Chookies gap, man. Tidal Wave coming through once again, securing themselves that kill. Absolutely huge. If there was ever a time not to die, it would be right now. Baron being up in 20 seconds here. And UST this time around is taking control of the entire map, grabbing themselves this bot tier 1 as well, cracking this map ever so wider open.
Not getting pressured on the other side, which I think was a big difference. Last game, Robbie Bob was in a solo lane a lot by himself, but wasn't able to really pull that many towers before the 20-25 minute mark. And here, they can lean into that side of the map. They can say, hey, Frost Force isn't allowed to be here. No one else is allowed to infringe on territory. Our mid laner is going to free farm. Our Syndra is going to be able to do as she pleases to get that itemization needed to make sure that some of the damage is going to be there necessary for attacking some of the frontliners, like when Camille and when Vi start jumping in. Neither one of them have magic resist, so this double pen is going to feel like a lot. The Zonies is there for defense. So it actually feels like an amazing setup now. This spike right here feels like UST at what could be their strongest once the Death Stance gets done, especially for the Aatrox. Feels like they are ready and raring to go.
So here, already looking to push up, but being trapped here as Frostboard was waiting in the back lines here. Huge damage comes through, and the shutdown onto Shogo. Can they turn it into 2? No, they can't. UST going to be able to back off from that one, but regardless, that's going to be Shogo put in the dirt.
Really, really wonderful play right there to be able to actually take advantage of the over-positioning of Shogo, trying to go forward, trying to get some damage down, and like you said, getting flanked by Frost Forest. Ooh, actually, a bit of a scrap in the jungle here,
though. Yeah, Darla, like, listen, man, do you know who I am? Put some respect on my name, Frost Forest. Gonna get that damage coming out. Bit of damage to this minute to Avino as well. Looking to take out this turret, that satchel charge. Trying to get it so they can take out that turret, but not quite enough just yet. Can't risk staying too long because Dardock is on the hunt.
Not at all. 20 seconds still drag. Oh, yeah, mobility. Actually, mobility. I don't know if he was spotted out or what happened right there.
Little Greedy has to flash forward there so that the Tidal Wave doesn't hit. Does get hit by the chain, so it doesn't quite get pulled back. That would have spelled disaster.
Nice!
On the weak, though, and Chookies gonna secure the kill. Mobility goes down. You flew a little too close to the sun, and you got burnt.
You got nothing. I don't think it was even a back timer necessarily. I don't know what mobility he was trying to buy. I'm not sure if the Zeal was actually in the inventory, but you cannot leave one way or another because you have to be there to contest Dragon. And so I'm confused why mobility was even looking for a back in the first place, let alone like that far up, which again, on one hand, there was no ward around him, and maybe he knew that, but they must have caught, some whiff of the fact that UST was going to go in looking for vision, as this is going to tie the Dragon count, which is big. It denies Winthrop one of their major win conditions of being able to go for a soul point.
Look at that, Ivano gonna go down 2, get some more gold in their pocket. We saw that gold graph was already looking pretty damn blue. Now it's looking even bluer.
Cracking structures, man. Dies for the tower. You take it. You get a little bit of gold. You type worth in all chat. You feel a little bit better about yourself. But it's a question of whether that's actually the case. I don't think that they can walk it Baron. I don't think that. Oh, actually.
God, you don't want to walk into a Nautilus either, though. They find Robbie Bob gonna be huge. Gonna let Chukis live and tell what just happened there. He's got to tell the rest of the team. Yeah, I saw Robbie Bob, and then I didn't all of a sudden.
Played a little bit of a disappearing act right there. And I can see he almost disappeared mobility out of fairness. It was very close. If he pops or if he's able to get a little bit more damage, he picks up the W, press another Q. Mobility probably dies, or at least has to heal. But just walking blind into the jungle makes no sense. And I was about to say, there's no way that UST Barons without the Ziggs. However, without their Syndra, it's a very real Baron threat here coming through from the side of Winthrop, as they're already got it down to 4,500 now.
They're going to opt to switch targets instead. Porsche with the cease and desist. So much damage coming through. Can he heal enough? No, he can't. Down he goes. And that's a huge frontline member from UST going down. Winthrop, though, a lot of low HP bars. You need to be careful with Dardoch, especially as that Heartbreaker. They're going to wait, though. Look to buy some time. Dardoch stepping forward. Setting up the Death Brush, though. Needs to be careful. Without Porsche there to get that healing, get that damage through, it's going to be hard to do anything. But then a Thor in a tricky spot. Golden Man to try and buy himself some time. Not going to quite be enough, though. And now it's Reset City coming through Shogo with the call-in to get some damage down. Dardoch has the body. Heartbreaker on out of there, though. Bit too much poke coming through here from Ivano. So it has to be very careful. Looking to steal away the red buff. Going to grab themselves that. A lot of low HP bars here at the moment. You're channeling up that Voltbreaker. Not quite going to find it, but they will find the hook, and they'll find the kill onto Dardoch. And with that, that sends the members of UST scrambling.
They're looking for something consistently. They're sitting in the back. I feel like we saw this last game with the Lulu.
No!
Not going to be able to get out, unfortunately. Brought down by the ticking damage of Ivano. It's so weird. They like turn, almost get Denethor. Denethor nearly pulled out the hero play and killed somebody on his way out, which would have certainly secured the Baron for this team to be able to walk in with. But they were just in such a bad position. They're so deep to the side of Winthrop that they're just stuck too far up. No jungler here to contest this. No support either to be able to have wards readily available. It's a 3v4. The health bars are low, though.
Going to Porsche. Is it going to be enough? It's a question. It's looking like it might just be 1 kill, 2 kills coming through. Shogo dashing forward, and Porsche is there to clean up as well. This is where you just start pinging that zone. You're like, God damn, I should have seen that one coming. Keeps Robbie Bob alive and kicking.
Okay.
He's going to be in this fight. Denethor is here, though, looking for something. Cold weak, though. Going to find a bit of stun damage. Hook shot forward. Not going to find anything. Shogo dashing backwards, looking for the hero play. Is it going to be enough? They'll go 1 for 1 for 1. 2 members of Winthrop are going to fall. Heartbreaker forward, and Ivano is not long for this world. Oh, huge satchel charge to get over the wall, but Dardoch still on the chase. Needs 1 Q, won't find it. Needs a Spectral Maw, won't find it, but he'll find the auto attack.
And finally, it feels like we've been around this Baron fight for like 2-3 minutes now.
Already, dude.
Just go back and forth between the two, yeah. And right here, it's just Winthrop overstepping. I know I was talking about it. It's a 3v4, but they are all half health walking into that situation. You don't have the jungler, but he's up in only 8 seconds. You have to be confident in your ability to burst it, and it just wasn't there. Just leave and take your tie of gold, but instead, they overstay their welcome. Too many members stuck in the pit and allow for this AoE coming out from Robbie Bot, this damage and single target from Shogo, cleaning up multiple members. And even more importantly, Porsche was sitting in the pit holding the Baron. I'm like, why is he doing that? They want, obviously, Dardoch to come back and smite it. But, like, can they really hold it that long? Winthrop apparently did not expect Dardoch to come in on a flank and kill 2 members of the backline. And so, once again, UST, with a creative game plan, actually winning that situation that looked like it was going to destroy their game altogether. Now, with a Baron able to set up their Dragon, and Ocean Soul would be at that point, Aatrox is unkillable. Viego's probably unkillable too. Game's almost certainly over if they get onto that metric. Winthrop's got to find another miracle fight.
Yeah, definitely so here. I mean, it's been crazy so far. Back and forth, back and forth. UST's not going down without a fight. The stakes are incredibly high for this game. Anyone just joining us, right? Winthrop has that first game under their belt. It's a best of 3. They only need one more game to secure themselves the spot in the grand finals on, I believe, November 18th, right? The losers of this match will go down to the lower bracket finals, where they will have to still face another team before fighting the winner of this game once again. But we're not here nor there just yet, because UST, if they have any say about it, they're taking this game home, and they're taking away a tier 2 turret in this bot lane now as well. Denethor looking to do the same in this top side here. No one really there to answer, but Winthrop is saying, listen, man, you keep doing that. Actually, we're going to call you back. We need to stop this assault. Those Baron-empowered minions doing a bit too much damage than they'd like.
Okay. 4v4 on the bottom side, and Aatrox is pushing up in the mid lane and gets that kind of inner tower as well. Once again, my qualm with this coming out from the side of Winthrop is that they don't have the same kind of split push pressure. Yes, Denethor just got that tower, but he's nowhere near capable of kind of, putting pressure onto the next tower as well. Feels like on this synchronized wave between these two, they're going to lose a base tower, and he's still there. Yeah, you have to be careful that if all 5 link up, you're just going to lose the fight afterwards. Not to mention the soul is still potentially, or it's within grasp. They're going to turn up to Aatrox, try to kill Porsche, but
looking too likely Avenue, obviously on that Ziggs, a lot of that wave denial coming through, and it's serving them incredibly well, because look at that Big Daddy Denethor, man. He got himself a base turret, he got himself an inhibitor, and he can just walk on out of there like it's nothing. Screw losing anything in your own base when you can take from the others and just head on back home. They sent Porsche back as well, who's a huge member for the UST lineup, and so now Winthrop has to be incredibly careful here. It's definitely a winnable fight for them if they can find a good pick here, as Dardoch looking for something, looking for a kill, but that might have not been the move. Bit of damage coming through. The TP coming out from Porsche here, looking to come and join back the fight. It's going to be a 5-on-5 though. They managed to get that bot turret and inhibitor as well, so at the very least they're going to go equal with that top side. Can they find more in the mid? It's a question. The answer is not likely, so we'll go to Dragon instead.
You keep the pressure up. The gold is back down to 4,000 gold here for the side of UST, roughly where it was right around the Baron take type timer. I don't think they're going to hold that. I really think they just grab Dragon and walk away here. It was a bait death rush for us, at least, yeah. It's inhib for inhib traded, which for Winthrop is, in theory, really good. I'm just a little surprised that they even let that go as far as it did. It feels like very easily UST could have sent Robbie, or they could have sent even Dardoch into the mid lane, done the same thing that they did with 3 members, just shove up the bottom side, get that mid inner tower, hold back top lane with the TP from Porsche, and then walk back to Dragon. It's basically a free tower and a Dragon and wave shoved in mid and bot in exchange for that, your third Dragon, your soul point, and the leverage to try to take a fight in 5 minutes when you've got a gold advantage. And instead they gave Denethor the time necessary to really get back into the game, give them something to work on with this inhibitor being down. When the Baron spawns, it's actually that side of the map that's going to be weakened for UST, so they're going to have to put members here. You can see how far Robbie's actually pushing that one out right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to just imagine the comms. Denethor's just going like, "Oh, really? Just gonna let me take it? Okay. I mean, I'll keep doing this. You guys call me if you need some backup. I'll be taking this turret. I'll be taking this inhibitor as well. Y'all really just gonna let me do this? Okay. Guess I'm walking back to base." Does exactly that, right? Even if he hasn't been having the craziest performance in lane itself, he's still making things happen across the map, still being an absolute asset to his team. Right? Because of that, now they did go equal, obviously losing that turret and inhibitor in the bot lane itself. And I mean, he's just gonna keep doing that, right? Denethor is just going to keep going into these side lanes, keep pushing them out, and if they allow him to do that once again, before you know it, bot lane is going to lose an inhibitor as well, it feels like.
Like I said, Denethor is one of these additions to this Winthrop roster that I think is a little bit more of a head-scratcher. Malbud was just so good for so long for that Winthrop team, being one of the best top laners inside of amateur, inside of collegiate, maybe the best top laner that existed basically all of last season. And so to see them go to Denethor, this young player, but you can see why in a number of circumstances. Again, making the best out of bad situations, winning out situations in individual one-on-one type places has just been the notch that they've been able to work with, which is really awesome to watch. And the competition, if it ends up being one between he and Malbud for the starting spot, has to be a hard one to deal with.
Flash forward, hook, TP coming through as well. A lot of Tukis has been annihilated, and the same thing has happened to Shogo. He's down. Heartbreak over the wall, but Hex take all the
No way!
Not going anywhere. A triple kill for mobility, make it a quad. Porsche goes gold. Where do you go when it's done? Into the dirt, because Denethor is right on top of you. Porsche trying his best to stay alive, but Big Daddy Denethor of Death says no, sir. Down you go. Robbie Bob, the only member left standing. He's got to run for the hills or run for the jungle because he needs to get back to base. A huge 4K for Winthrop Garnet.
It's just poking into mid lane, getting punished by Pocus as well, where he just throws a Nautilus hook. He's able to run in, and they insta-kill Chookies. It was literally Zig's ultimate with a single W coming through for mobility that just assassinates the Nami. And again, it was 1-to-1-to-1-to-1, exactly how mobility wants to play these fights as this Kai'Sa. Target one member at a time, and that's all you're going to need. And now Winthrop, forget the gold advantage that they just got from this Baron buff, because it's probably going to about even up the game. But the important part is that now they can use this for mid and bot lane setup to try to contest this next dragon. In 2 minutes time, they're still going to have the setup from the Baron to be able to use in order to make sure that it ends up being 3. We're going to go to a, a 7 dragon game? I don't remember the last time I went full 7 dragons, Echo. These two teams are showing up for us today.
Yeah, they are indeed. Listen, man, this is the finals. These are 2 of the top echelon teams. Oh, bit of a break off seal there. It looked like they are not wanted it instead. But overall, right, these are 2 of the top teams in their league, undefeated series-wise so far. Dropped a few games here and there, but regardless, have always come out on top. Both UST and Winthrop as well want to take that first full series off of the other. It's such a huge statement, and Winthrop is saying, listen, man, we are going to do it unless you step up to the plate. They have been playing amazingly so far. Still have a little bit to go, though. It's not over till it's over, Rebel.
Not at all. The gold lead's still barely in favor of UST, but at this point, it's mostly a pittance. The important things I'm tracking, number 1, Syndra, probably close to, if not max stats on the Splinters, as well as having the Rabadons, means all it takes is one combo to basically eviscerate anybody. So you have to be really careful. Robbie wasn't in that fight. If Robbie was in that fight, it would have been a very, very different situation to have to deal with from the side of Winthrop. Not to mention, again, some of the backline assassination was attempted from Dardoch. He was on one side of the fight, Aatrox on the other. If they pair them together and put them together next to one another with this Nami, it's going to be harder to break that line. I love what Winthrop's doing, though. Again, Denethor, he's putting on a bit of the split push pressure. It's not the most heavy set win condition.
Oh, they're looking for Dardoch. So much damage from the precision protocol.
Oh!
Over the wall, coming back, goes gold, but it's going to buy enough time. They go 1 for 1, though. Abel, very nicely done. Reset City, finds themselves another, go 1 for 1 once again. Redemption comes down, heals a little bit. Will it be enough, though? They find the kill on mobility. They find the kill on Pacus. The TPs are coming through. UST is not going down without a fight. Avino is the only member standing, just barely gets that TP through, and now he has to hold off the onslaught. That is Portia and Robbie Bob. If they get on top of him with even a single ability, he might just go down, and it's going to be lights out for game number 2. And look at that, Portia knows it. He's stepping up further, trying to find the chains. Won't quite get it, but they'll find themselves a turret.
Oh, no!
They find the balls to the face. I'll never say that again on cast, but it was so beautiful to see, man. Porsche and Robbie Bob get the job done. They're pushing the base. The death timers are too damn high, and just like that, UST are staying in it for the long run. We're going to game 3, Rebel.
It was a lack of patience, man. Winthrop, they're so close. They get this amazing fight with mobility. They get the Baron buff, and then they go fishing for the other jungler. You don't need to. You don't need to find Dardoch. Just push mid and bot and take the dragon and take us to 7 dragons. Why push in like that far? You had an amazing setup with Denethor already. You don't need to pinch onto Dardoch. You don't need to take a risk, making that big of a play happen, as it just hands the game back to UST. The best that could have happened right there, if UST just walks into the dragon pit, is like a 50-50 where they get the ocean soul, and then it's a guaranteed fight that's going to be happening where Dardoch is going to be out of it to start with. He's going to be in the pit, he's going to try to smite steal, and it's going to open you up to pick one member at a time with mobility. Doesn't matter if they have the ocean soul. So I'm a little bit questioning Winthrop's final decision. I guess they were really terrified of that 50-50 and not wanting to give the soul point over, but that draws us into game number 3.
Dude, I'm telling you, I've said it before, I'm saying it again. Remove stopwatch from the damn game, man. And that was insane. The stopwatch comes out from Dardoch. Heartbreaker's back over the wall afterwards, bought so much time that Shogo was able to get back into there and just started absolutely free firing on everyone from Winthrop. Flashes back over the wall, and then choo choo choo, we're over to Reset City population, all of Winthrop. They absolutely clean house. They instantly, they give the calls. We're ending them right here, right now. The TP up top. Nothing Avino can do. Big, sad, very unfortunate. But that's just game number 2. And it's insane that one little play like that just decides the entirety of the match.
It's massive right here for the fact that Winthrop, again, came so close to turning that game on its head, maybe the entire series into their favor and taking it 2-0. And it comes down to a little bit of decision making, a little bit of, I wonder if everyone was on the same page. I wonder if they made that decision as one, or if somebody just saw an opportunity, they went after Dardoch, weren't accounting for the stopwatch and the heartbreaker, and so they just end up losing the game off the back of it, unfortunately. So we walk into game 3. I'm curious what they want to do with side selection, because they've been on red twice in a row, but it seems to be working for them. That bot lane has been so dominant. Mobility and pockets have just been insane down there. I gotta see what Winthrop's game plan is. They're so close to making this upset happen, beating a team that beat them multiple times for the Southern title last year, and with these youngsters really establishing themselves as a favorite inside of amateur and inside of collegiate, and UST with this new jungler in Dardoch trying to stand up and be this commanding powerhouse, this bully that we've established them to be on the playground, just kicking kids around for their lunch money.
Yeah, listen, it came down to 2.5 seconds of invulnerability, but we'll have a bit of a longer break as these teams, they can put their heads together and get ready for the final deciding game that decides who gets to go to the grand finals automatically. So we'll throw it to a quick break, and then when we're back, we'll get right into the draft for game number 3 and see if Winthrop has the answers. Be right back. All right, Rebel, it's that time of the night. All the cards are on the table. We're going to a game number 3, ladies and gentlemen. You know what that means. Winner takes all. The winner moves on to the grand finals, has their spot secured on November 18th, and the loser, they still have some battles to fight, but it's an entire game between us and them. So we're almost ready to get into draft itself, and you know, normally I'd ask you, right, is X and Y pick gonna make it through the draft? But there was just too many damn picks to talk about this time. And I'm gonna ask you, does Winthrop have what it takes to take down the kings of all of collegiate, pretty much, UST?
I mean, they did it in game 1 without too much sweat. I mean, they did give up the one big play, and then game 2, they nearly had it. I really think that they should have just walked it in and tried to slow play it, because I think they had the ability. They knew how to work that comp so effectively against what they were playing against. So, in my opinion, I think Winthrop's walking into game 3 probably feeling better of the two teams. UST, they have to figure out what's going on in the bottom lane. If it weren't for the bottom lane, this series might be very different. It might have been very quickly in favor of UST, but this bot diff that's been going on so far for the side of Winthrop has just been making a world of difference, and it truly is lifting Winthrop up to a place where it feels like they're favored walking into game number 3, which is insane. I don't think I expected to say that.
Yeah, it's crazy because even before a draft of game number 1, we talked about how chokers and chookies, right? It's going to be a huge factor that we're going to look at, and we want to see how they're going to perform because they have just been such a huge staple of UST whenever they perform, because they always perform incredibly well. This time around, sure, there was a little bit of jungle assistance here and there, but they still got a bit of a slappening down in that bot lane this time around, Rebel.
They did. Not too much jungle pressure, like you said. The other big thing is that while Winthrop's bottom lane is winning, it feels like Denethor is doing an amazing job top lane. Ivano is doing perfectly fine in the mid lane. The Syndra hasn't been so destructive. I think that's one thing I really need to see them go away from. Like, the Syndra feels so slow for Robbie Bob. He doesn't have the map impact that you want. I think in 2 games, he's had the one gank to topside, which worked out, which probably would have worked with just the Viego and just the Aatrox on its own without worrying about anything else. So, I don't know. Give Robbie something that he has more agency on. Because, again, the Syndra, powerful.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just the way that you want him.
Yeah, absolutely. It just feels like, honestly, it's a good pick, but it just takes too damn long to kind of get online for him. I want to see him get some blood early, and the rise is something we talked about, right? You can get that initial wave shove, make things happen across the map. I think real quick, though, taking another look at Big Daddy Denethor, right? I mean, not only has my man been solo boloing in the top lane in game number 1, even in game number 2, right, where he kind of fell behind a little bit because the jungle assistance priority went into that top lane here for Dardoch. He still made sure that things would happen, right? Even if he wasn't, you know, absolutely balling in lane, he made sure he got things done on the side lanes the longer that the game went. But that's enough damn talk, and let's see if he can make that happen in game number 3 as well, because, ladies and gentlemen, we're in the final draft of tonight, and now this time around, finally, the sides being switched.
Okay, so now we get UST on red side, which I'm looking at Robbie and Dardoch as being the two that I want to have counterpick for. And in the first 2 games, really, we were suspecting that Frost Force was going to get counterpick. It didn't end up happening. I think in game number 2, they had the option to give it. But game 1, it was a direct counter that was given away. And then Ivano has had the benefit of having, like, it was game 1, it was the Galio, which is a very, very low econ. Game 2, it was a setup where they had like a reverse swap where the Ziggs ended up going mid lane. And it actually felt a lot better in lane than I think game 1 definitely did. Ivano was testing that lane after like the first back much better than I think Robbie was anticipating. And it slowed down once again the pacing that Robbie was able to use to move around the map and have this impact that he normally does. And so now Robbie gets the opportunity to pick a champion that he dominates the mid lane matchup with. If you're Winthrop, I would be scared of that to some extent. Figure out a way that Ivano can be comfortable no matter what.
Yeah, and I find this Aatrox ban very curious coming up from UST, kind of signaling that obviously, you know, Porsche's saying, listen, if I don't get it, you sure as hell don't get it. And if you're going to ban my GP, I've got something else in the wheelhouse that I'm about to bring out. But it is only the first 2 bans here. Regardless, this is the draft that decides everything, honestly, for both of these teams, right? Game number 1, we felt that UST's draft was lacking a little bit. Game number 2, we liked UST's draft a lot more, and they were able to execute it perfectly. So this time around, there are times to charm, as they say, so both of these teams should have that perfect draft lined up for us. Speaking of it, actually, Cinderband coming out this time around for Winthrop. They don't want to see it and get there. I'm a little surprised because it didn't feel too crazy. I feel like it was dangerous, but it was manageable.
It feels like the team fights are where they're really terrified of the Cinder, which is reasonable, but in the grand scheme of things, I feel like they've had answers. The fear I think that they're currently exhibiting is that they don't want it blind picked. So if you don't end up counter picking for Robbie and you end up using that for bot lane, support, top lane, something like that, Robbie getting on the Syndra probably feels fine into anything. The problem with that, if that is the theory, is that Victor's still out. So Victor can craft up for Robbie if they aren't very careful. So maybe Winthrop's thought process here is, if they don't take it on R1, R2, right? If they don't take it very early, we'll take it on B3 and say, all right, Robbie, what you got? Like, that might be the theory here of just saying, Ivano's like, all right, I will tank the laning phase. I will attempt to scale up for the team fight and attempt to get some wave clear going just to make sure Robbie doesn't have that kind of impact and make him play something very aggressive or very active in order to beat out the Victor.
Yeah, Ivano might have to slave away on that Galio once again like he had to in game number 1. And honestly, it worked out pretty well for them, right? Objective was just to survive. Sure, Ivano was taking a little bit of punishment, but he was doing a great job of just mitigating any sort of threat that was coming out from Robbie Bob. And already B1, the Nami getting locked in. Not something you normally see when you think of, you know, B1 priority power picking.
That's kind of nuts. It tells me that they're terrified that Chookies would take Nami if they Lucian first. They really want Lucian Nami. So now it's a question of whether UST wants to take the Lucian away, because you have to anticipate that that's what they're going to be going for.
Yeah.
And they do. So now, what does Winthrop have readily available in their bottom lane that can work with this? I know that, like, before, the Eclipse version of Xayah was a really big one to kind of throw alongside it. But mages are also something that's humongous with this. Being able to utilize that E and make those kind of stacking applications type happen is really, really disgusting if you've got the right mage matchup for mobility on the bottom side of the map. Like, an outrange the Lucian and make sure he can't really use that effect. This is a mean matchup, too. Oh, look at this.
Let's go. The certified Yuumi moments might be upon us sooner than you think, Rebel. It has been locked in. It has been confirmed, and that's the bot lane already for UST. This time around, they're saying, listen, man, we cannot be absolutely dumpster 3 times in a row. We're locking in this damn Yuumi, the magical cat. We're going to see what we can make happen. But yeah, I think it's really interesting to see what Winthrop wants to pair up with that Nami, because I feel like to some extent, there's no way they locked it. That's got to be a hover. Okay, I was a little worried there, because to a certain extent, it just, oh, screw my point. Let's talk about this Draven that just got locked in.
Okay, you throw Draven into Shogo, you first pick Nami, then pick the Draven King's champion against himself? Mobility. This guy coming out.
The city of this one.
Truly, this is nuts, man. What? He's been killing the laning phase. Don't get me wrong. He's deserved quite a bit more of a head nod because Mobility and Box have been doing great during this series. But this is one of the boldest things I've ever seen somebody do. To such a we take Shogo in such high regard. The fact that he's willing to do this against somebody that is considered so good, especially when he knows the champion in and out, is insane to me. I was almost suspecting Sivir. I thought Sivir was going to be strong, has enough wave clear. You can kind of let Nami roam a little bit, which is a little bit of an underplayed part, but we've seen Chookies do it. I'm sure Pocus is capable of doing it as well. It's just a really weird situation. The Gwen is the response. I've heard good things about Gwen being very, very strong right now as well, something that not a lot of people are playing. But the Gragas blind pick for Denethor probably feels great for himself right now, as that matchup is... Gragas is just one of the best blind pickable top laners if you're willing to play the champion. Has a lot of skill expression to work with.
Definitely so. I mean, obviously, though, Gwen being somewhat of a tank shredder, right, with that Q, especially the true damage that comes through with it, a lot of that percentage current health damage coming out. But have to be careful, definitely. I mean, we've seen that both of these top laners, right, they're not afraid to get their hands dirty. They're not afraid to go for that solo bolo kill coming through. So I have a feeling that this time around, it is not going to be an ocean. It's going to be a city up in that top lane. We're going to see a lot of stuff coming up. But regardless, the last couple of bans, very jungle focused here from Winthrop. A lot of respect going out to Dardoch there, taking the Udyr, taking the J4 off the table. And on the flip side, same sort of thing coming out from UST, right? Surprisingly, taking the Graves off the table. I'm a little surprised. I don't really think that was too much of a worry, right? I don't think I couldn't see Winthrop picking it. But regardless, they get rid of it. Ari as well. And now you're seeing, oh, the Win brothers. Are both of the Win brothers about to be locked in here, Rebel? This is going to be... I don't even have words. It's still
I'm a little bit lost as to whether that's going to
get... No way.
He's still hovering.
Oh.
It would be wild to me if it got locked.
Okay.
It makes a little more sense. I was hoping the Yasuo Gragas would end up here.
Yeah, dude, I love the Rebels in the thinking pose right now. He's for me, you're sitting in the thinking pose like, you're like, what's going on here? The big brain's got to come out for this time. And already, this is what I like to see, right?
Okay.
Winthrop hovering at the moment. That Vi was such a pivotal jungle pick, and they bait me right away, so I should have talked about the hover. That's my bad.
I bait you back.
Oh, thank you so much, okay. They didn't make me look like an idiot. I appreciate it. They have the W in my heart already, locking that in. I'd be very surprised if UST doesn't go for that Viego again, because I feel like it was a fairly strong pick. It's very good for Dardoch's playstyle, right? Get those skirmishes going early on, reset city as well, and especially pair the healing that comes out from the Viego whenever you take those bodies with the Yuumi heals as well. If my man was unkillable, oh, that's even crazier. Oh my god, the Olaf locked in.
Ooh. Takes me back to the old days in UPL before Hyper ended up getting moved up to TSM Academy. It was right about the season that Olaf got a solid play and Yuumi came about, and that combination is what made him lead this league in damage as a jungler, which is insane. So now we get to see Dardoch, somebody with such a pedigree behind them, take this insane damage champion, throw a Yuumi on top of it from Chookies, and just absolutely run the map, or attempt to run the map, is just such a cool idea in my mind here from the side of UST, and being able to do that. They have a very forward type fight where you got Gwen, you got Yone. You want to run at the enemy team. Shogo's going to fit alongside that as well. Winthrop, they've got a lot of ways to try to disrupt this, but man, it is just a clash here for game number 3 between these two Southern Conference teams.
Yeah, honestly, it's like I feel like game 1 and 2, when it came to the draft, there was a lot of engage, but also a lot of, disengage coming through, able to play safe. This time around, both these teams are just saying, screw it, dude. We want blood. We are going to kill each other, do whatever it takes, right? I'm looking over at Winthrop, Denethor, tossing the keg on in, dashing on in, Frostboros with the cease and desist. Avenel's going to be flipping in and out of the fights with the shuriken, with the perfect execution, mobility, with those empowered axes. He's looking to just start one-shotting people. And it's the same story from UST, right? Look at Dardoch. He's saying, you better run and you better be fast.
It's going to be insane. I think there's a lot of forward pressure for UST, and how Winthrop kind of responds is going to be massive. You got this Akali was such a bold pick, I think, also for Ivano. I was expecting something a little bit different out of Ivano in a game like this, but he takes a bit of a skill matchup because it's 2 melee champions. It's one where you don't have that much wave clear for Ivano to allow Robbie Bob to get out and about on the map, and to be able to make that impact has been one of the big things that has allowed them to win first 2 games, trying to shut down the impact that Robbie Bob has had in the side lanes. And so Ivano is just saying, okay, I will play the assassin into this melee fighter. I will make this matchup happen. It's to me a bit of a confidence from Ivano. It's a very confident draft from basically the entire bottom 4 members. Denethor's here. He's just like, all right, I'll play weak side. You guys do your thing. Let's win this game, man.
Yeah, and I feel like they've deserved it, right? Because game 1, they were able to take it in a dominating fashion, right? Game 2, if that one slip up hadn't happened, honestly, I can't even predict how the game would have gone. And so game number 3 is where you gotta show it all, ladies and gentlemen. The final game of tonight. The winner of this gets their spot in the grand finals, guaranteed. And Rebel, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be looking at this ball because not only I feel is the spot in the grand finals on the line, also just Shogo and Chooki's reputation, man, because we hold them in such high regards, but so far they've been getting the 1-2 from mobility and Pakas.
Really have been. And now in this game, I mean, you could see a bit of a different setup. Like, look at Shogo with this Lucian. He's got exhaust. He's got first strike as well. He wants to put some damage down and just bounce out as best as possible. Chookies was really good at this Yuumi pick before it got insanely popular. And so that's something that I have confidence in for these two to be able to run as a response to this Draven Nami combination. So again, UST, they've got so many members that can kind of take over this game. But they also are a bit of a, everybody can take over the game, but everyone can also get put in the dirt a little bit if you're not careful. If they fall behind, it's going to be difficult to not get out because you have to fight your way out more than anything else, which they are experts at, don't get me wrong. But you have that fear that if you go down 3,000 gold, if they have a game 1 type situation, it could be very problematic for them trying to get back into this one. And so I foresee them, they want to fight early, obviously. Getting that gold advantage is massive for them. I wouldn't even mind them saying, hey, nuts to the first couple dragons. Let's just play for this Rift Herald. Let's play for tower plates, and let's make sure that we've got advantage when it's time for us to take these big fights.
Yeah, because, I mean, we've seen as well how expertly both of these teams utilize those Rift Heralds whenever they're up, right? The moment they grab that, they're always getting at least 1 turret, and then a lot of times they get that second crash in, always biding their time, looking for that perfect opportunity. So it would be really interesting to see if they just say, screw the drags, because so far it would be very reminiscent of game 1 and 2 where we're gonna get to those 7 dragons, right? Take their time and focus on just positioning, getting those solo kills going through. But for now, we're gonna have to wait a little bit. Already mobility getting some damage down here though, but I'd underestimated the damage coming out from Shogo there with that first strike as well. The trade not quite going in his favor. The zoomies, the Yumi heals coming through. Keeping Shogo in that fight. Gotta get a little more damage out for mobility if he wants to win those.
Little jump from Chookies in the midst of that to be able to grab that big shield was massive.
Yeah.
To deny some damage.
Definitely so. That bop shield is incredibly
good for being able to help out.
So here, both supports trading a little bit of that gold with the support item there. Porsche is just kind of stuck under his turret there with Denethor, stuck under Denethor's turret, I should say. Has got him stuck there while lane still just a bit more farming fish going out. But most importantly, I want to put it out, right? Frost Forest and Dardoch both on their way down into this bot lane. Odds are they're going to clash heads on this crab here, but Frost Forest is going to be there first. Should be able to secure it, but regardless, I'm curious to see if we just see an all-out brawl in the jungle already. Not looking too likely. We do see something a little bit trading in the mid lane, but Dardoch is on his way down the bot lane. Maybe they can make something happening. Being followed up by Frost Forest, just kind of watching each other. Has that level advantage at the moment, so Frost Forest doesn't want to take the fight just yet. Trading coming through. Top lane, though, Denethor on top of Porsche here. A lot of damage coming through. Can they find the kills? The question. The ghost to get popped from Porsche, actually, but not quite gonna find him. Was able to dash off the wall, so that's just gonna be ghost down.
Goodness gracious. There's so much posture for fighting every single way. Feels like we're in little tiny, like 0.1 metric earthquake away from everything in the game, just rounded to everyone fighting all at once.
Yeah, honest. I'm just prepping the voice at this point. I know something's coming. They're about to start throwing hands, and it's gonna get nasty. And honestly, dude, I'm all for it. I mean, look at that. They're just dashing in and out, trying to get as much chipping damage as they can because they know sooner or later they're gonna have to go for that all-in. Porsche has to be careful. Too close to that turret. You know, that turret. Yeah, turret does a bit of damage. It's a bit of turret diff ever since those buffs coming through. So you gotta be careful. But regardless, it's only a matter of time before some blood is shed, and already I'm seeing Frost Forest on its way to the top lane, and with Denethor opting to stay, needs to hold that wave, kind of signals to me that maybe they're going to look for something. A lot of wards in that river, though, so they would see Frost Forest coming.
And my Denethor in really weird position. Porsche is so far up. I think it's so easy to actually gank.
Yep, dashed over that wall there, did get spotted out. Porsche probably running for his life. Doesn't have that ghost available, popped it early on, and you can see by those little pings, they have collapsed on each other, but it's not looking like they're going to find anything. Porsche going to be able to hop, skip, jump on, away on out of there, and so instead, it's just going to be the positioning revealed of Frost Forest there, and they'll know that he's in that top lane. Going to go for that back. Instead, drag is available, and so far, no one opting to go for it just yet.
Again, for the amount of kind of action that we've been waiting on here to show up between these two teams, we actually have no kills for the first time by 6 minutes into the game, which is just wild to me to think that this is the game where, like, this much, we've seen so much action between these two already.
Yeah, the most deciding one, it just kind of feels like both teams, you don't want to be that team that goes for the all-in, but then it doesn't work out, and now all of a sudden you've put yourself on. You have no one else but yourself to blame. And so overall, both teams just waiting for that opportunity to get that first strike in. No pun intended here for Shogo. But regardless, some more wave shoving coming through. Actually looks like Dardoch has been inside of Frost Forest jungle here, getting some of his camps away. Curious to see if he looks to start up his dragon now that he saw Frost Forest backing off. Looking like he will indeed. They have that bot lane shoved in, so the rapid response force that is Shogo and Cookies could come over at a moment's notice. I think we've just completely, well, I think we lost Rebel. No, I think Rebel's internet just died. We might have just lost him, ladies and gentlemen. Rest in peace to a fallen soldier here as the dragon falls as well. Cloud Drag, thank God for that. Never want to see Cloud Soul in the rift. Worse Soul, you can at me. Regardless, though, some more shoving coming in here. No answer coming through from
Winthrop. Can't just throw that in, man. What?
Dude, it's just fact.
I'm not completely gone. I can still.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure, man. I was just trying to buy some time.
For 5 seconds, and you trash talk the Cloud Drake.
Listen, man, objectively, it's the worst soul. All right, at me, I will fight you for it. Regardless, though, looking like we might have some fighting once again here. Porsche and Denethor are looking at each other very menacingly. Pokus is here as well in this mid lane. But not too much come out of it. Can we get some blood on the rift, please, dude? This is the deciding match. I don't want to see this just tiptoeing around the rift. Let's get some punches thrown. We stand Cloud Soul.
This is what's insane about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Coming in, dude. Coming in. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Action? No.
Oh, we got baited. We got baited again. Hate to see it. Dardoch on his way into his top lane as well here. Hawk is getting hit there by the Q. But once again, nothing going down. Hate to see it. That's just that cloud so far. That's what people trust me. Regardless, though, more lane shoving. Dardoch has been inside of Frost Force's jungle for a obscene amount of time. Level 6 is coming through as well. Looks like Robbie Bob has joined the party. They're all in there looking for that initial engage. That Rift Herald is up, and Rebel, you mentioned how it's going to be huge for both of these teams to pivot towards it, and we're seeing exactly that as Dardoch is going to go ahead and start it up, and I'm hoping that this time Frost Force goes for the answer, because we saw him give over that dragon. Surely they won't do the same thing for this Herald, but it's pretty likely. Well, oh my gosh, Shogo though, a lot of damage being taken. Final chapter does get dropped. Ability not gonna get dropped though. He's gonna stay alive. Close call once again. Listen, where is the blood at? Maybe Phosphorus has heard my cries, my pleas, though he is in this jungle. And this wave is crashing in. We might get to see our first tower dive here. Shogo already knows something might be up. Doesn't want to give those plates on over. Cease and desist onto Shogo. And that's huge! It's going to make sure that Tukis can't jump on top of him. Oh, still going to go down the turn and the ignite. And now Dardoch is here to collect. And he finds himself pockets. And he's looking to run down mobility. He's able to sidestep the undertow. Going to pick the axe back up, get the reset though. And it's now looking like mobility is going anywhere. For his name being mobility, he's pretty damn slow. Overall, though, it sounds to me, it seems like Rebel. I don't know if he's still here. In spirit, he's still here. I don't know. It might take him a minute to catch up, but regardless, that's exactly. Yeah, I figured, man. I know you're trying. We'll wait and see if your internet decides to stop griefing there. But regardless, how long are we gonna keep We Stand Cloud Soul on this broadcast on here? I'm starting to get. Listen, I get the point that production is trying to make. Okay. Really? You're gonna bring it up again? Okay, there we go. Now it's gone. Finally, we can focus on the game.
Back up.
He really put it back up, dude. We can focus on the game because most importantly, Dardoch on this Olaf picking up 2 kills is absolutely huge. We saw it in game number 2 as well on that Viego. What he's able to do, he's able to get ahead, and he's doing exactly that.
And the Olaf is such a difficult champion to try to deal with as anybody for melee. So you think about Denethor's impact, you think about the impact of Ivano inside of this game, even mobility in a lot of cases. It's going to be so hard to get through this Olaf's health bar. You throw the Yugi into the mix, but that champion on its own can
look at that damage.
Shogo wants this
final chapter, and Shogo says, "Bot is mine. Your life is mine. You pick my Draven. You better perform." The calling does so much damage, and when Pocus goes forward to try and tank it, he ends up getting the short end of the stick. As now though Frost Force is here, cease and desist, whirling death comes through. Shogo with the dash. They need some more healings, but it's just gonna be a trade. And now Tukis, come on, Yumi Div, get that 1v1 going. Doesn't have the damage, uses the heal, doesn't have the speed though. Gonna go down. April's here though, but Dardoch is a little bit too slow. Tukis can't dash onto him. The flash, no, the fail flash, not able to get over the wall. And so Dardoch says, uh-oh, someone doesn't have their F key or D key, whatever you have it on. I don't judge.
Didn't have the Q either because you just used it to make sure that the Yumi could not reattach. So it's a terrible situation. Everything goes around. It's the second time that Dardoch has just vultured one of these bot lane plays away, picking up an additional kill 3 times now. He's walked to bot lane where play has already transpired and cleaned up kills that were already out and about on the map, which is such a good play of Vano. Might get the better Robbie.
Yo, that is so huge. Oh my God. It's a Robbie Bob gap, but Ivano's still gonna fall to the turret. So incredibly close. Both of these mid laners expressing so much skill. Dardoch is here in the jungle once again looking for mobility, but those empowered axes are hitting like a truck. But Shogo says, I hit harder. Final chapter gets dropped, and Pacus has nowhere to run but the turret. But the damage from Shogo, the heal, so incredibly close. Phosphorus is here, but he can't answer. It's gonna be a 3-on-1 Pacus. It's a bit too low, can't really do much. Tries to run, he got slowed from the undertow though. The bubble not gonna find its mark. Dardoch still looking, trying to find something. No final chapter available, but Tukis with the snipe says, this This is how we get things done in bot lane. Shogo maybe gonna look for Frost Force here. The TP coming through though. They don't want to lose this turret. Rift Herald does get dropped. Ivano is here. Can he find something? Doesn't have the perfect execution available, but has those Qs. Gets slowed up a minute there. Finds the shuriken flip, but will he find the damage? No, he won't. Shogo says, sit down, son. I run the rift. And top lane is they're trading. Top lane's top lane. Yo, can I get a break, please, dude? Frost for it was charging up, but he's not gonna look for it. Hate to see it.
Truly. Looks like that's just not going to lead to all play, which is unfortunate. We've had so much action now over the lines where UST has taken just complete control of this game. The Lucian, the Yumi on the bottom side now.
God. They're running through them, man. Shogo picking up another kill. Mobility doesn't quite find the damage to get the kill. They're onto Dardock. Robbie Bot dashes forward, finds yet another pick, and UST is looking menacing out of the gate. 12-4, 4K, almost 5K gold deficit. Things are looking bad for Winthrop right now.
Forcing their way consistently into fighting scenarios, exactly what UST has wanted to do basically from the beginning of this game. And you can see they're getting their way in basically every single scenario. Dardock is able to walk at any portion of the map, and if there are members from Winthrop, he's able to force onto them. You can see Robbie Bob's starting to win as well. The bot lane is at such an advantage. This is exactly where you want to be if you're UST. You have two dragons under control, so you can force fighting to happen anytime in the next few minutes, and you can try to leverage this into any sort of soul point type action, big 5-on-5 fights, and your team is kind of built for that exactly. You want to run at the enemy, and now you've got the means to do so. It's UST who are now in control of the game for the most part. Winthrop on the other side, it's going to be so difficult for them to hold this one back. Who are you supposed to lean on now to win against members when they're running at you? How do you kill this Olaf when it comes sprinting with a Yumi attached? They're just not damageful.
Yeah, too much healing coming through. It's menacing. Very reminiscent of what we saw in game 2, right, with Dardock. Getting those early kills going, able to snowball that. This time around, though, he says, listen, Torch, buddy, you got to do your own thing. I need to help bot. We can't have 3 times in a row bot just getting gassed. And so it's been working out great for them. Shogo and Chuki this time around have been putting on a masterclass of just 2v2ing as well as Avino needs to be careful. There's a lot of damage coming through. Frost, of course, is on his way over. Face Shield is still available, but it's going to pivot down to this bot lane. Instead, they need to get Shogo back under control. One thing at a time, Rebel. We can take out Shogo first and then move on to Dardock, but one has to fall. One piece of the board needs to go.
See what happens elsewhere. Both sides of the map. Top lane now controlled. It feels like they could break open Porsche pretty effectively here. This Gwen has been doing fine. The Gragas is kind of just stalling the lane out. That's the intention behind the pick. But if the Rift Herald is getting dropped up here, it's certainly the turret down. If the support isn't enough for Porsche to just take it on his own. And so it's just a play of, what happens on the cross map? What happens to this Lucian and Yumi? Because right now, they're already pulling off the wave. They're already pulling the defense. This is certainly going to be an attempted topside play from Dardock. He's walking all the way, man. He wants the Raptors inside. So they pull up on bottom side to open up space for Robbie, to open up space for Porsche. And yet it's just counter jungling away some rolls right now that is the play for Dardock at the moment. He's got the Rift Herald to be able to do anything he pleases.
Dardock just walking in through their own jungle like, hi, yes, the map does belong to me. Takes out the turret too. Porsche, meanwhile, in this top lane, getting taken incredibly low. Cease and assist right on top of Robbie Bob, but he still has that fake seal available, and he's going to utilize it perfectly. They're going to find himself that first pick onto Avino. Too easy for me. Frostborn, whirling death, they're going to find the mark, and this might be exactly what they need. Channeling the Volt Breaker, gonna find it, and now Dardock needs to run for his life. Flash forward to dash away from the undertow, and he's gonna put Dardock 6 feet under.
And it's a nice defense of the mid lane. That's like a phenomenal situation to find yourself in. But you lose bot lane now. You have to take pressure off one part of the map in order to salvage another. Porsche right here, they're able to take some advantage of. Denethor was setting up some kind of a play, and in the mid they lose a bit. It's a 2-for-1 in the grand scheme of things, but again, you're losing a tower somewhere on the map. That time they actually lost mid tower too, because again, it was already so low, and then Shogo already gets to take bottom tower in exchange for that double kill they get in the mid lane. You get a couple shutdowns, that's good for Winthrop, but again, in terms of just like the grand scheme of things, UST didn't care where they ended up pulling that gold. They didn't care where they ended up pulling up the rest of that pressure. I thought they were going to just throw down the Rift Herald in top lane and not care about it, but they'll take the bottom lane tower if you're just going to give it to them for free.
Yeah, definitely. So I will say, man, I'm looking at the side of USC, and I'm getting a little worried. Winthrop, right? They're not in the position yet where they can invest into some anti-heal. I'm looking over at Porsche, right? Has the Void Seeker. I'm looking at Robbie Bob, has the bow shield. Bow shield. I get it confused every single time, regardless though. And of course, the Yumi, right? So it's like that's so much healing coming through as well with Dardoch with the ulti and just the passive lifesteal. You got to get that under control. You got to get that in check very soon.
Okay. Taking a look at the goal, I mean, mobility's up there. The couple of Draven stacks you've been able to cash in on has at least kept him relevant inside of the game. Same with Frost Force. You got a couple of shutdowns right there, got him back into the game as well. But again, this Olaf is the big difference maker in my mind. Being the thing that can actually make a big difference in this game. Killing him is going to be hard. You do have big burst damage from Draven, which is one of the things that you usually need, but again, this play has been a move in the making for some time, and now Denethor is trying to stop it.
But on his way, he's trying to stop it, but to no avail. Explosive cast, he's running for his life. Drink up while you can, because you won't be much longer. Now Denethor goes into the hands of Porsche. Meanwhile, in this mid lane, they're looking to hunt down Robbie Bobby's a little bit too fast for him, though. Charging up that Vault Breaker, but not quite going to find it. Has that cease and desist available, but no one nearby to follow up. So they're just going to take that pressure instead and look to start up this dragon. Don't want UST Esports to already be on Soul Point, but if Dardoch, Chukis, and Shogo have anything to say about it, they're coming for that drag, whether Winthrop wants to give it to him or not. Robbie Bob still been here waiting. They're going to collapse on him, though. Flash on forward, cease and desist as well. Looking for the damage. Can they find is the question. Yes, they will. That's the first member down, but Dardoch's on his way. Can he get out? Yes, Frost Force going to dash on over the wall. It's going to be safe for now. Shogo on his way. They're dashing forward, calling it a drop with the final chapter as well. So much damage comes through, but the tidal wave going to stop him. TP coming through as well. A lot of low HP bars, so do they have what it takes to stop the menace that is Dardoch? And Porsche in the back lines here too. They're looking for something. He's running, he's dashing, and he's CC immune, baby. And the first target is going to be mobility. He gets slowed down, gets put in the dirt. So does Pakas, and so will Avino. 3 members down. UST is running an absolute train over Winthrop right now. Devlin trying his damnedest to hold them back, but it's not going to be enough. Dardoch taking the turret, so much heals coming through, and much damage as well. They find 2 more members, and it's an ace for UST, and Dardoch is still not dead.
What are you supposed to do, man? Who runs at you? This is the snowball champion. This champion gets a couple of kills, gets a little bit of advantage. You throw a Yumi on top of it, watch him 1v5. Watch him 2v5, I guess, in this particular case. And that's exactly what happens. He runs at the team. What do you do when he presses CC immunity? Denethor is like, I'll throw every bit of CC at him. Nothing happens. Nobody is able to stop him. The only thing that stopped him from killing like 4 members was that Ivana went into Shroud and he didn't care about the Gragas. Instead, just ran down mobility and then took anything else that was in front of him. The fight was over the second that they had nothing to stop Dardoch. They had no way to bring down his health bar. The game it feels really lost right now.
Indeed, and Pakas has been lost as well. Oh, Frost Force couldn't even get on top of Robbie Bob. Gets that quick kill, quick little snack for him. It says, thank you, I don't believe in, takes the Hex Gate on out of there. And yeah, like you mentioned, right, it's feeling very unwinnable right now for what we just saw there for Winthrop, right? If you cannot take down Dardoch, it is just all over for you. All those abilities that Winthrop has are just rendered useless. The moment that Dardoch pops that CC immunity, he just goes like, listen, dude, it's cute. That's about all it is.
Forget that too. Also, look at the rest of this team. Look at Chucky's. He's got a 17 stack Magi's with a Moonstone. He's healing a ridiculous amount with the Yumi. Yeah, this is the certified Yumi moment that you've been talking about literally all game. The Lucian is absurdly strong too. They're gonna try to get tested this. They will have to leave in almost certainly, except Dardoch can just run it.
Oh no, they're going in and it's looking like a double D. Dardoch diff, baby. They find themselves Frost Force first. That's gonna be the jungler down. They're gonna find themselves Porsche though as a bit of a return kill. Denethor goes down as well. Shogo over the wall, just barely staying alive. Avino doing his damnedest to get on out of there alive. They might just find the kill on April. If they can, they actually found him. That could be huge. Can they turn the fight around though? It's the question. Dashing forward. So much damage, but they're trade 1 for 1. It's up to Robbie Bob. We've talked about him. We want to see him shine, and now is the moment. He's got the HP to do it. He has the damage, just has to find it. He finds one, dashing over the wall, and Avino, you can sit in that mist all you want. It's not gonna save you. Robbie Bob finds it in the nick of time and secures the ace. Back-to-back UST Esports is looking unstoppable.
What an insane fight from the side of Winthrop to be able to make that look almost close, and you still just have too many threats on the side of UST. We talked about this at the very beginning of the game before anything else happened. Every one of these characters on the side of UST can carry a fight. You have to kill all 5 of them. That's something you normally want to do anyway because you just kill everybody. But if you've got a tank, if you've got like a really primary support that just can't outright win a fight on their own, you don't have to kill everybody. You just have to kill the big damage. In this case, 4 members have big damage. You got to kill all 4. You killed 3. You were so close, Winthrop. But it doesn't matter because Rowdy Bob with the Yuumi on top is still a massive hyper carry and ends up getting the back end of the fight despite a couple thousand gold. Now the Baron buff, they got to do it again.
Indeed, season assist. Frost Force has to flash on out of there to stay alive. He's burning and he's got to back off. Avino is there and is missed once again. Double stun there with the Everfrost. Avino going deep, but he's going into the dirt. Down he goes. Denethor is going to be next up on the list. Absolutely demolished by Darda. A masterclass in how to play League of Legends. Welcome to the UPL. I might not be mathematically inclined, but that's 3 members down and only 2 left to defend the base. And they sure as hell aren't stopping UST from taking this.
Frost Force wants it, but there's just no way,
Frost
man.
Force, man. He wants the pick. He doesn't even get that. And Pokus dies too. There is, I mean, the kings of collegiate are back, Rebel. Can anyone stop UST?
It's so unfortunate because you think back to game number 2 and Winthrop was right there. Actually, they were right there. They had the 2-0 with insight, within tasting distance of where they were at, and made one crucial mistake, gave the game back to UST. And now you walk into this game and you see just how devastated that they are against this UST squad when they have to play at this momentum, at this pace that they are playing at. Everybody's got gold. Everybody's got damage. Everyone can 1v5 on this team, and they've got a Yuumi to throw on top of anybody that's capable of living through any onslaught that Winthrop's been able to throw. They're up 12,000, 13,000 gold at this point. They've got the soul points on the board. Everything is theirs. They have this game all but under wraps.
Yeah, and the worst part is, right, I feel like Winthrop, they find themselves in this position where they have to invest into the damage because it's like you said, you have to kill all 5 members, as Denethor knows that he's got to get out of there or he's about to get collapsed on, right? But you look at itemization, there's one single bit of anti-heal coming out from Pokus, right? And it's just like, you can't go for any more anti-heal because you need the damage first so you can actually get these kills. And even with all these items, they're still falling short. They might find Robbie Bob though, doing a lot of damage, looking to get at least 1 kill in return. He will find one, and he's gonna live. This man cannot die. He is a menace. We wanted to see him pop off, and we're seeing exactly that. There's that healing coming through. Shield bow is too strong. Oh, just barely mobility escaping that.
Yeah, 10th of the second timer where you just cannot be denied. Here's Denethor underneath of his own tower, just getting run down by Shoko by Porsche.
Yeah, Denethor, more like Denethor, dude. He's just out of there. He is gone. Gonethor, exactly. And so is the turret, so is the inhibitor, and UST has begun the march. Cullen gets dropped. A bit of damage coming through now as well. They're looking at those juicy Nexus turrets. Robbie Bob's looking at that juicy inhibitor. Gonna grab themselves that with the minions here. It doesn't look like a whole lot can stop UST, but they are merciful, even in death, dude. They're gonna let them have these turrets as the next dragon's available. They're gonna back off. Dardock has to be careful, but the heals coming through from the Yuumi are gonna be enough. So they're gonna stay alive. Maybe they set up a death rush here. They're making it seem like they're going for the dragon, but they're going all in. Fate sealed, and it's looking at me like Winthrop. Garnet's fate is sealed. A triple kill coming through. Frost Force has to escape from his own base, and they're gonna hunt him down. They know they have the manpower. It's gonna be all. He's still running, dude. Run, Frost Force, run. It's gonna be up to Denethor. It's gotta be Big Daddy Denethor. He's gotta hold the damn base if they don't want to lose this. Right here, right now, the kill squad is looking for Frost Force. They want him dead, but they're just buying time. The Nexus turrets are falling, and it's looking to me like not only will Frost Forest fall now, there we go, down he goes, so will the Nexus and Rebel. We're gonna be seeing UST in the grand finals November 18th, but they're gonna pad out the KDs first. Bit of damage coming through, going back to the body, just finish this massacre. There we go, and UST Esports take game number 3 and take the series and stay undefeated.
In standard UST fashion, man, they drop the game, they give one away, they make it way too close in game number 2 and have that comeback type moment. And then game 3 is just demolition. They take their series against their Southern Conference kind of counterpart in a lot closer fashion than I think I expected. Here's what I can say about all of this, right? UST coming back, the bot lane came back into form. I like the way they played. I know Chookies was a substitute on the day. They weren't necessarily at full power, but man, if we could get that series and a best of 5 in the finals of the 18th, that's all anyone could ever ask for. All we want is more of that injected, man. That's everything you could ask for as a League of Legends fan.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so nice to see as well. They realized, right, bot lane, if you shut that down, Winthrop is in a terrible spot, and they did exactly that. They sent Darduck down there. He said, listen, Porsche, buddy, you got this, right? And Porsche was like, I got you, brother. Go do your thing. I'll do mine. Masterclass, they send it into the bot lane. Boom, boom, boom. They get Darduck 2 kills right off the bat, and then they just get the Lucian fed, and it was all over from that point.
Setting up the right win condition. Again, for game one, it felt like that felt a little bit disastrous. Felt like they weren't quite as prepared as they wanted to be. Felt like Winthrop had the better game plan and executed on it better. And just every single time, every single time there was a bit of slipping to come through, UST would fight back. UST would find a way. UST would still make it difficult on them. Winthrop, I thought, really had the bearing to take a fight on the day, but UST is just so damn good. Like I said, there's a reason that they're the bullies right now. There's a reason they're collegiate champions. There's a reason why half their team was able to make it into the proving grounds, and they've got even more talented players elsewhere as well. It's insane to think of the progress that this roster has made in just 2 years and the amount of accolade they've been able to collect in that amount of time. And so UST, they deserve every ounce of praise. Now they're going to be our first finalist here to come in UPL on the 18th. It's an exciting day for this team to be able to compete against anybody. And so now it's just a question of who comes next, right? Who is their opponent? They get to sit and wait on their throne for somebody to walk up and challenge them.
Maybe it's too early to call him NA Savior, but I don't care. I'm going to call him exactly that because that was a beautiful showing coming out. Sleeping a little bit in game number 1. I'll admit, I'll say that. And then game number 2, they find that at the precious 2.5 seconds that they needed to turn things around. Right in game number 3, they just ran town with them. They're like, listen, we own the Rift, we own the UPL, we own Collegiate. There's nothing that we can't take. And they take game 3. And the best of 3 series too, so we will be seeing them next Monday on the 18th in the grand finals. It's not all over just yet for Winthrop Garnet. They can still, if they could throw some punches in the lower bracket, then they can still face UST once again. But it's going to be a bit of a tough fight for them, I won't lie.
They've got some teams that are right now that are sitting there pretty vicious, that are going to be very hungry coming out of that lower bracket. They got to beat a lot of competition in order to get there. But man, Winthrop came out with some firepower. Again, I wasn't expecting. Every time I've seen Denethor, I think I've been impressed. This last Gragas game was probably the worst performance I've seen from him. And the game was pretty chalked most of the time as it was, so I'm not going to throw it too much of a knock. But even in the losing game, he played pretty well on that Camille, trying to make things happen, trying to make big moments. And in the first game was really electrifying on the Gnar. So building on that, mobility and pockets on the bottom side of the map were so good all game. And then that combination of Frost Force and Ivano, that veterancy that they've got for a bit of the roster to come in and have that type of performance, that type of definitive shot calling, especially in game number 1, was really, really cool. So props to them. Looking forward to their run. Looking forward to them maybe showing back up and giving us an amazing best of 5 against UST in the finals. But ultimately, it's UST's game to play.
Definitely so, yeah. Even though they lost today, anyone in that lower bracket, they're going to be shaking in their boots that they got to go up against this team because that was one hell of a showing tonight. But like you said, it was UST's game to play. They did not come to play. They came to dominate, and they're moving on to the grand finals. We're not done here yet, though. We're going to go to a quick break, and then we'll have some interviews lined up, get into the heads of the players that managed to make this whole thing possible. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I promised you I'd bring you guys back somewhat special, so who better than the mid lane menace himself, Robbie Bob? How you feeling today after what was one hell of a best of 3, man?
I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, obviously after the first game, it was like, we were like, oh, maybe we need to, start trying a little bit, but maybe on the back foot. But after the second game, we were feeling pretty good, and then obviously third game, it kind of showed that we were ready.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to ask, man, like, were you guys surprised at all by like how just swinging you guys also did come out swinging, but how swinging Winthrop came out in game number 1? Like, god damn, they were really throwing some punches.
Yeah, we definitely fell behind pretty hard in the early game. Like, we were pretty behind, but we still found ways to slowly come back. And then I think there was like one team fight that we just lost, and then we lost the game. But they definitely played a lot better than we expected. But we had to play them again some other time, so like in the next week. So definitely we're both going to be more prepared for that match. So
yeah,
it's going to be fun.
It's possible. It's definitely possible. If Winthrop is able to battle away through the lower bracket, they're going to be back into the grand finals with you guys. Real quick though, I'm very curious if you can give me a little bit of an insight of the comms of Shogo and Chookies, because listen, on the cast here we had a bit of a motto for tonight. It was gatekeep, girl boss, and kill bots. And especially game 1 and 2, it really felt like you guys were getting the short end of the stick there. How were they feeling that they were just getting ganked over and over and over?
I mean, Shogo likes to say 80 carry is useless, so when he's behind like that, he's just like, I'm useless, guys, my role is useless. But we know bot lane's OP, and they turned it around for the next couple games, even if like the team in general is just like very cohesive. Like, everybody's just playing super well. So after the first game, after he stumbled, it was lights out.
Yeah, it was definitely a very good showing from you guys. I gotta ask real quick, on a scale of 1 to 10, if you can tell me how much Dardoch loves the stopwatch, because that game number 2, that stopwatch, that final team fight was so incredibly crucial for you guys just turning that thing around.
Yeah, I mean, when we were walking in and he called out, he was like, oh, I'm dead. But then he stopwatch, and I land my QE on Syndra, and everybody just died.
Winnable, guys. It's winnable. It's winnable. Were you surprised at all that when game number 3 rolls around, they actually opted to ban the Syndra instead, rather than like going out and taking the Victor, for example?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty surprised. I think I was playing quite bad on that champion. I was not playing that well.
I didn't say it. You said it. I didn't say it.
I don't think I was playing that well, but I guess it warranted a ban. But I mean, I can play other things. I can play champions that I'm probably better at than Syndra, so I mean, thanks to them for banning it.
I guess they have no one else but themselves to blame. They let Robbie Bob loose, and he went absolutely ham on real quick. We're almost done here. I'll let you go celebrate once we're done here. But I'm curious about the Olaf pick especially. It feels like in game number 3, you guys realized that, bot lane, we can't let this happen 3 times in a row that y'all get just absolutely steamrolled. So what's kind of the game plan that you're gonna send? Yeah, there it is, stacks on stacks, right? But was the game plan kind of that you're gonna send Dardoch down into the bot and just try to absolutely crush them, or what was kind of the thought behind that?
Well, we say jungle pick for 5, R5, right? And they pick in Vi, and Dardoch's just like, yeah, just pick me, Olaf. It's good with you, me. And he's like, I destroy this matchup, and obviously we trust him. And then it showed, like, he just ran down everybody. He even if Draven got the cash in on bottom, like, once Olaf got the 2 kills, he was unkillable.
Yeah, pretty much, exactly. It was overall one hell of a showing for tonight. Beautifully executed, well done. I gotta ask you, man, how confident do you feel if Winthrop is able to battle their way all the way back to the grand finals? How confident are you that you guys are you guys just gonna crush them, right? Just 3-0 them, or is it gonna be really close? Do we have something to look forward to, or is it just gonna be like another UST diff?
I mean, obviously it might be closer, but I mean, I think we're all pretty confident in beating Winthrop. Again, we beat them plenty of times before, and I think unless they have something new to show, then we'll probably beat them again. in finals unless they, really come out swinging. But
All right,
I
a
think
respectable
we'll be-
UST diff. A
I think we'll
respectable
be
UST
ready.
diff.
Respectable.
Respectable. Yeah, that's all. That's exactly. I love to see the confidence coming out, man. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Say hi to the rest of the squad from me. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be closing out tonight, which was one hell of a banger of a series. My God, it went the full 3 games. It almost looked like UST was about to be dethroned, but they said, no, sir. UST gap, Double D, Darduck gap, Robbie Bob gap, easy peasy. And with that, I'll be signing off. I'm going to say bye from Rebel Fox as well, as he'll be signing off too. And can't wait to see you guys next week.